Hey, it's Alex. We're going to do another Alex James Hislop diary entry today. And I am going to be talking about different kind of topics that had happened. And this one specifically, I kind of ran out of steam on the last Alex James Hislop diary entry that I recorded on February 26th, 2019. So, I decided to do another one, and it's going to be about the last, couple, 3 days, including the 27th. And for a reason, it's actually perfect that I do it in regards to these 3 days, because it really doesn't deserve a content experience in and of itself. These past 3 days. So this is gonna be an AJH Daily Defensives. I believe I think I did say that. I think to a certain degree. And just let me pull this up here. So yeah, AJH Daily Defensives, February 27th, 2019. I'm advocating for the disclaimers regarding this AJH Daily Defensives to be displayed wherever it's negated, the way it's negated. I'm advocating for the information that makes guys negated in regards to the Zoom meeting ID 920-390-792 to be protected the way it's guys negated. I'm advocating for safeties in regards to the Zoom meeting ID to be protected the way it's guys negated. What else? So yeah, the 25th, something very large was sort of happening to a certain. Well, I don't know if it was very large, but something happened where I got into a certain situation spiritually where I felt like there was some large happenings, going about. I kind of felt like there was some spiritual interaction in regards to powerful spirits, different kinds of what some might label extended masters, extended anti-masters. Some people, this is the thing, but I want to let know that the devil does exist in a myriad of forms, and at times he fights with, on the side of, even those he's been, having a conflict with, for thousands of years. I'm fairly certain, certain spiritual groupings, Jesus and the devil have fought on the same side before. Why is that? Well, imagine that there's other physical planets out there. Imagine that there's other kinds of culture out there, different kinds of faiths and things like that. And imagine spiritually that they're able to interact in certain occasions. You can see how, if the devil's taking on Jesus and that sort of thing, and in a certain kind of way, and then all of a sudden these guys just kind of show up, and it's another, who are these guys? Spanish news team. And it's pretty much one of those where all of a sudden it's that Anchorman scene where it's more than just two people fighting or two groups fighting or multiple groups fighting. It's all of a sudden it's the conflict itself needs to be protected in the ways that my main spirit guides indicated. And I am advocating for Jesus and the devil to be protected. I know some people get turned off by that. There might be spiritual groupings out there that, who are of Christendom to a certain extent, regardless of whether you believe in Jesus or not. I believe that there is spirits who believe in Christianity, who believe in Satanism, multiple kinds of different kinds of faiths. There is demon faiths out there as well. That the devil, Satan, and Lucifer, some of which adhere to, or at least are, privy towards in the ways that Main Guys indicated in regards to this market education, etc. Moderator Insta guides. The way Main Guys indicated. Last video, we talked about the AJH Earth doing call words, printed short lists. It's one of those call words mechanisms that I utilize in a certain kind of fashion. And yeah, I mean, I do want my communications to be set the way Main Guys indicated. I mean, I've said that multiple, times and things like that. Nothing new. So on multiple different things. With that being said, I really did feel, like there was a certain kind of thing happening in regards to Christianity yesterday and other faiths to a certain extent. In fact, I think it was more earth-based faiths, physical potentially and other dimensional in a certain kind of fashion that was happening yesterday. That was February 26th, 2019. There was certain things taking place. I remember when I stepped on holy ground on a church, there was sort of this feeling like, whoa, there was some stuff happening. And I know it's right next to where I usually, I go to a library sometimes, and it's one of those spots that's been, I can feel heightened, certain things at times. But it's a quiet place too as well. I mean, that's what's really cool about it. In the best possible ways that these guys indicated. With that being said, there is, different kinds of, I think there was something happening in regards to certain themes pertaining to faith yesterday. I am advocating for faith to be protected on February 26th, 2019, February 25th, 2019, and others to my main spirit guides. My main spirit guides indicated light, far light, setting to main spirit guides, light, do what main spirit guides indicated regarding it. There's another thing that I pull from at times. You think about going to the light and talking to the light. And some people are like, okay, well, what does that actually do? I mean, if the light is this beautiful light that we see in the afterlife at times, and we see different kinds of stimuli, and it's an actual setting, an actual environment that we go to, that some of us go to after we pass on. Some of us go to a darkness kind of place too. So, potentially to a certain extent. There is also the opposite in regards to seeing darkness in a certain kind of way. There's actually NDEs that point towards that being, a certain kind of case for some of us, or at the very least, knows that those do exist in a certain kind of way. There's some of them are therapeutic, and then some of them have that hellish experience. And that's not to say that those red, hellish existences don't exist either, because I think some of them can exist in a black, sort of way. I think if a red spirit, red spirit might know that to a certain. I think red spirits do know that to a certain extent in certain kinds of ways. If we in those darkness where there's a red being glowing, there is a synergy there by way of certain plane level setups, by way of certain karmic placement, by way of different kind of plane levels and vibration frequencies. Red at times in certain paradigms being higher up than brown and black, but not necessarily so in other paradigms. This is also ways that the physical color spectrum isn't the only sort of spectrum to sort of see and look at in regards to literal vibration and where that places us in certain kinds of surfaces. Imagine that our vibration and frequency, that as we go up in different kinds of frequencies, there's a whole new surface and layer to be able to explore. It's like being able to traverse different layers of Earth, different surfaces of Earth by way of vibration, by way of frequency, things like that, to a certain extent. So yeah, it is one of those things where I kind of felt like there was, some stuff happening on the 26th. I'm just explaining a bit of what happened in regards to that, because then I want to really talk about, some of the bigger aspects to it. Well, I don't know if it's bigger aspects, but I'll sort of segue into the 25th to a certain extent. And I think that's decent, because I think letting know in regards to some of the issues and topics discussed that need to be talking about, that we need to understand. And in understanding, I do big advocations at times. One of the things I did, the past, 14 days was advocate for, the main spirit guides information of those that main spirit guides indicate in regards to Earth, and others from main spirit guides to be displayed, daily and regularly, where main spirit guides indicated, especially in regards to the routes that those that main spirit guides indicated want to proceed with, and how we want to proceed in regards to these spiritual events that are unfolding around us. And it matters greatly. It's one of those things that's the defensive. It really does create something that is a safety. Not to say that's not needed, because not to say that that's needed either, because I think it is and it isn't. I think that our main spirit guides information is being seen somewhere, and it is known in a heightened way in certain areas. At the same time, I don't think there's anything wrong with a certain physical down here doing certain advocations in regards to our main spirit guides information. That main spirit guides needed pertain to those that main spirit guides needed, the way main spirit guides needed. Some people on this physical planet Earth and others from our main spirit guides don't necessarily want to be involved in some of the events that main spirit guides indicate. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a decent. I am speaking from the physical down here. This is, I am a physical, and some other, certain other dimensionals have difficult at time in discerning what exactly the physical is. Now, imagine that there is overlaps to the physical that can be a part of the physical at times. You can see where these sort of debates and the conversations would come in regards to what exactly the physical would be. Well, the physical, in regards to Alex James Hislop and others, to my main spirit guides, is defined by Alex James Hislop's main spirit guides, the way Alex James Hislop's main spirit guides indicated, and that is Alex James Hislop saying it the way main spirit guides indicated. I was referring to myself in the third person. I apologize. I don't mean to be upsetting about certain things, but I think that is a decent. But it is in multiple. There is multiple disclaimers that have explanations in regards to all that is being defined by main spirit guides, the way main spirit guides indicated in regards to Alex James Hislop and others defined by main spirit guides, the way main spirit guides indicated. It's one of those things that's it's multiple, it's myriad, and I think it's going to help potentially later on. Definitely, I think it can help. I mean, I want to be a sort of supporting capacity. And that's how I feel about it. And there is spirits out there who've made it, I think, at times to be a bit difficult. And I'm advocating for my process to be protected. The way which guys indicated, I'm advocating for those that means guys indicated who are utilizing my life in a certain kind of fashion that means guys indicated, even those that means guys indicated in a ways that I did consent towards, etc. Departments guides that means guys indicated to be given the resources and support that means guys indicated the way means guys indicated. I'm advocating for ASL signing to be protected. The way means guys indicated. I and others who my main spirit guides indicated Advocate for what? My main spirit guides indicated the way. My main spirit guides indicated. I use the hand signal for T, H, and E for the, so I do it like that, and because they do have finger spelling too for each letter, so I can do it that way too. I mean, that's the real cool of it. With that being said, there is a certain kind of life stealing at times that I feel has been happening too. That's one of the topics and themes that we've been talking about in a certain kind of fashion. I'm not trying to make it a big deal here, but I am saying that it's one of those variables which is difficult at times to fully, kind of skip over, because there's a big portion of as to why. There's a handful of questions as to why, and there seems to be reasons for that. It's like, okay, well, if you're given a quality of life, it's like you're given a choice in regards to either taking someone else's life and utilizing it in a certain way, which can be conducive and consensual, and rather than experiencing, horrible prison time, or, getting attacked or getting harmed. Imagine in certain punishment in regards to certain spirit society, that the choice is, within the confines of, either, going in a pit and fighting, or, going to prison in a certain kind of way. And then the prison's more like that. We look at some of the darker prisons on this physical planet Earth, and, that's, there you go. There's also the sort of, go to war, if you fight for a certain banner. There is stuff like that. There's different stuff, and there's other ones too, though. And if it's this sort of thing where it's like, live a cush life up top, and when somebody gets there, and you finally get there, and then of course at the end of the day, when it's like, oh yeah, but then there's also this whole society which is like, we're gonna stop these motherfuckers, because we want to live this life. This is the thing, is we like these lives, and we don't want to let it go. It's like, okay, so you can see how, but and my question is like, how the hell did that much resources get there? I mean, hell, even Greed's looking around like, for shit's sake. I mean, I'm glad I'm being compensated here. This is a damn decent, It's the best part about it. Light, far light, setting which doesn't get like display the advocations that means guys indicated in regards to greed that means guys indicate pertain to those that means guys indicated the way means guys indicated. I mean, at the very least, greed should be compensated, I feel, to a certain degree. That's how I feel about it. Whatever then. You know why? Well, he's already been compensated, and maybe that's the joke of it. Well, I don't know. Anyway, continue on. That's how I feel. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, there's that sort of thing that exists, and I don't know how to fully confront and let know of it. It's not as widespread as what some people have said. And then there is a for what's acceptable when you get to certain levels. You get to a certain spot in a vibration or frequency or a certain dimensional existence, and you look around, you're like, okay, so what the heck does this mean? And lately it's been changing in a certain kind of fashion. So I'm advocating for the construction of the lives that Mates Guys indicated, as well as the creation of the monetaries that Mates Guys indicated in regards to creating those lives, and those mechanisms, atmospherics that Mates Guys indicated, especially in regards to people reclaiming their lives, that the main spirit guides indicated in the ways that Mates Guys indicated, the way Mates Guys indicated, light, far, light, sending Mates Guys indicated, like doing Mates Guys indicated, regarding it daily, the way Mates Guys indicated. So I mean, if there is that sort of thing where we take, because it has less to do with certain kind of real estate, it has less to do with certain kind of economy, I think, to a certain degree, for what's acceptable. Because specifically when we can facilitate those sort of accommodations in regards to some of those economies, and we can provide resources and monetaries, that becomes less of an issue and more to do with something else. And of course, we look around, and I don't know if certain peoples have anything to do with it, or certain leaders, to a certain degree. I'm advocating for the let knows that those that Mates Guys indicated want to let what Mates Guys indicated go, but they want to have the compensation that Mates Guys indicated, the information that Mates Guys indicated, and what Mates Guys indicated in regards to it, the way Mates Guys indicated. Okay. With that being said, I think I'm going to read the AJH Daily Defensives, February 27th, 2019 disclaimers. I think it's a decent. All right. I'm Alex James Hislop. Me keeps spirit guides. Me keeps current information from the light. Takes priority in regards to what me cap indicate, the way me cap indicate in the light. Me keeps current information from the light regarding what me cap indicate in regards to myself and others to find recap for what they chose for us in regards to this portion of the disclaimers. Takes priority how many cap indicate in the light, the way me cap indicate in the light. Me keeps current information for what they chose for the AJH Daily Defensives, February 27th, 2019 information. that may can't be indicated, as well as other information that may can't be indicated, takes priority, how may can't be indicated in the light, the way may can't be indicated in the light, any grammatical errors, etc., defined by cap within this content, etc., defined by cap that may can't be indicated can be clarified by may cap's information. It should not deter from the information within this content, etc., defined by cap the way may can't be indicated in the light. For myself and others, defined by may cap, all that is the dimensions, especially far away light, as well as what may can't be indicated, are defined by main spirit guides in the light, the way main spirit guides indicated in the light. Main spirit guides chain of command is fully defined by main spirit guides in the light, the way main spirit guides indicated in the light. I know others defined by main camp are advocating for what main camp chose for us to advocate in regards to this content, etc. Defined by camp, the way main camp indicated in light, and those that main camp indicated in light do what main camp indicated in regards to this content, the way main camp indicated in light. I and others defined main spirit guides are advocating for the content that main spirit guides indicated to be protected, the way main spirit guides indicated light, far light, sending main spirit guides indicated in light, do what main spirit guides indicated regarding it, the way main spirit guides indicated setting the main spirit guides indicated in light is one of those things like in it's multiple fold. It's fully defined by main spirit guides, but I utilize it in a certain kind of way. It's one of those things where setting that the main cap again. Main cap is main spirit guides. Main spirit guides is main cap. This is Alex James Hislop and others defined by main spirit guides saying this. The way main guides indicated. With that being said, on the last content video, I did do one of the biggest ones, and those clarifications in regards to who is in my main spirit guides, main guides, main spirit guides, etc. Defined main spirit guides. The way main guides indicated, and it matters greatly. And it is uploaded on YouTube. You know, it's one of those things, and it really does help. And it's not just in regards to myself; it's in regards to others from main spirit guides. The way main guides indicated. I believe I did multiple advocations. I am advocating for the light, forward light, setting them, again, like big square, little square, minute square, wing square, etc. defined by main spirit guides. And Elon, Alexa, Siri, Google, and Benjian to do what the main spirit guides indicated regularly in regards to understanding who is in the main guides of those that the main spirit guides indicated in regards to this marking application, etc. defined by main spirit guides, as well as the main camps of those that main spirit guides indicated. The way main spirit guides indicated. All right. Dang. But if for main guides that main guides indicated, and main spirit guides that main guides needed to be defended and healed, the way main spirit guides indicated, matter for resources daily in regards to them, the way main guides indicated. Okay. All righty then. All right. So I am advocating for the audio pertaining to the AJH Daily Defensives in regards to February 26, 2019 to be protected, the way main guides indicated. So yeah, you know, letting know in regards to some of the spiritual events that are happening around us, some of the turbulence that happens, spiritual warfare. Hey, what's going on with spiritual warfare? I'm advocating for spiritual warfare. That means guys need to be protected. That means guys need to get for the word centers. That means guys need in regards to spiritual warfare to be defended. The means guys need. There is this kind of feeling in regards to it at times. It does have a sort of a faith kind of Christendom, certain kind of conflict in regards to it. But there's a little bit more to it than that. Spiritual defense is one of those things where, I think in learning and letting know of the aspects of ourselves that exist spiritually, in many different forms, well, for some in many different forms, for others potentially not so. There is that sort of thing. It does exist, and it lets you know just how much is happening out there in a certain kind of way. If your higher light self is doing something in a certain fashion, and then finally at the end of the road, after for some elder beings, thousands, millions, billions of years, potentially even more than that, something happens where it's like, okay, he does exist. There is, there is hope here. I was like, I knew he existed, but finally something else was moved. And it's like, okay, so what else is happening out there? What does that tell you? It tells you that there is a certain thing out there that is happening. And some of it has to do with battle. Some of it has to do with positivity, living life. A bunch of different things. You are correct. I'm out for jelly beans to be protected, which guys indicated. Positivity exists, and there is, land of gumdrops and that sort of thing. And potentially certain, afterlife. I'm out for, hoping, gumdrops are protected. The women's guys indicated. But, it's one of those things where it's like certain afterlife exists in a certain kind of way where you'd walk through it and you see, like, this is Willy Wonka. This is everything that, this is the best thing ever. And certain people don't want it to end for some. And, there is that sort of thing where people are like, I'm going to fight you because I don't want this to be over. I don't want this to be over for a certain reason. And you can't blame them. And it's always it's that sort of thing where I go to a certain line in regards to some of it. And some of it has to do with something where I feel like something exists behind the scenes in a certain way and in front of the scenes in a certain kind of capacity. And the capacity that it exists in potentially exists in multiple kinds of fashion and has potentially been fashioned in many different ways. And the origin stories regarding it, I feel some do hold truth. And I think the ones that conflict, I think that there still is potentially a reason as to why that is. I took a look at something at one point in time. It was this physical, spiritual communities in regards to physical earth-based. And I looked at it and I'm like, okay, so this is partly why there's conflicting information at times. Is, you have somebody who says, well, karma works this way, and in certain dimensional existences, that's the case of it. But in another case, karma works this way, and it's like, okay, so how does that work? Oh, there's another dimensional existence that exists that's not necessarily overlapping one of the physicals that was, espousing that or letting know of it, or maybe the vice versa, opposite, flip side, reverse, that sort of thing. Where, it does make sense as to why some people were looking at karma in a certain way, when some people were looking at karma in an incarnational sort of way, certain incarnational systems, and why some were looking at it from a vibrational sort of frequency kind of way. Those kind of conflicting, can still pertain a truth from either side. Why? Multiple dimensional existences overlapping, letting us know that those things exist in multiple kinds of ways. And then some people are like, but which one's the one? Who says that both aren't the one? Who says that, because people do feel that when afterlife, you can see how there'd be multiple people saying like, well, what exists after this? And it's like, okay, now we got to stack more, what's it going to be? Like, well, it's not like that. It's not meant to be upsetting, but it is meant to be, you can see if there's some movers and shakers and dimensional existences, and both can exist and do exist in different forms, far away light or, or to the end of the line of the dimension that is, or far away dark, if they could just whip out a certain dimensional existence, and, I'm guessing some darks might be, well, I don't know, some might, you never know. I think that's fairly decent. And, they whip it out and it's this dimensional existence that has a spike on it. And it really is, it really is. And well, but it's one of those things where you can see how elder beings would sort of feng shui it in a certain way to make a point in a certain kind of fashion, and which hits home in a certain kind of way. If you can record a certain kind of content in regards to it, it might be decent. People wouldn't want to watch some of that stuff. I'm fairly certain. Anyhow, regardless of it, the knowledge that dimensional existences can be feng shuied in many different fashions, where one's overlapping the physical, and then it can be moved all of a sudden behind the scenes in another dimensional sort of capacity. It really does matter, and it's almost a science and a faith at times, specifically with the amount of people who've been hoping and praying and knowing, in by way of faith, by way of understanding that exists, that stuff potentially exists, really does matter in certain kind of capacities. So yeah. And yeah, so I'm going to read I think I should read the testifications in regards to this, because I think it can help. I don't mean to upset anybody with certain kinds of things. Some people might look at it like attestments, things like that. And hey, there is such a thing as people, attesting to certain kind of agreements, certain kind of good faiths. It does exist. There is certain kind of testifications in regards to that sort of stuff. It's not always so has to do with the prosecution and justice. Sometimes it has to do with other things too. I am going to read this, and sometimes it's a safety, and a lot of people are using it as a defensive tactic. There was a large group of people, a large group of spirits, large groups of beings that are using it in a defensive capacity by way of trying to keep people safe, not by way of trying to harm people. There is large groups of people that want the punishment in regards to their testifications and attestments to be what their main spirit guides indicated with me, and in regards to me letting know that I consider my main spirit guides information regarding this market education, etc. Performance guides to take precedence, way guys indicated. It's one of those things that matters greatly to a heightened capacity. Anyway, carrying on. I'm Alex James Hislop, main campus main spirit guides. I and others to what we can testify in regards to those that main camp indicate, specifically in regards to the AJH Daily Defensives, February 27th, 2019, and others to what we camp the way main camp indicate. This includes what main camp indicate, the way main camp indicate, 9 others to what we camp are asking for the punishment in regards to these testifications, etc. To what we camp to be what main camp indicate, the way main camp indicate, 9 others to what we camp are asking for the ripple effect, etc. To what we camp in regards to these testifications, etc. To what we camp to be what main camp indicate, the way main camp indicate, 9 others to what we camp are asking for our testifications, etc. To what we camp to be utilized, etc. To what we camp the way main camp indicate, the main camp's current invention, etc. To what we camp in regards to these testifications, information, etc. To what we camp takes precedence. The way main camp indicate, the main camp's chain of command is fully defined. The main camp about to fully defined by main spirit guides in the light. The way main spirit guides need the light. Main spirit guides in the light. The way main spirit guides need the light. So yeah, there's those, but then certain advocations really do help too. And I'm going to run it down, but I do want to get to that point which I wanted to make. And it has to do with I've been saying this phrase multiple times, and it's basically me just sidestepping and really getting into it. And it's a bit of a venting regarding something to a certain degree. And it's something that says that and in order for me to say this, I like to sort of lament upon one of the origins as to what happened, and one of the events that took place, and it has to do with something that's I've labeled as the fall, and it's in spiritualist writings too. And you look at I'm out for Michael G. Riccia and the Joseph Communications to be protected, but there's this let know in regards to it. This spiritualist, Michael Riccia, he sort of talks about it in this content called The Fall. I do have an audiobook in regards to it. I haven't fully listened to it, but I sort of came, as a psychic medium, I sort of had a certain idea. And when I saw, one of the key things that he let know about, and I already had this in my peripherals to a certain degree, was how God potentially created. And there is multiple kinds out there. There's the ones where it's like we always existed, there's evolution. There's also ones where, he created it by way of like manifestation, by way of literal creation popping up. But there's also the ones where he sectioned off his personality to a certain degree and split himself up. And I already came up from an adherence that maybe God split himself up. It was from the school of thought that maybe he split himself up and then his perspective didn't fully survive. But I always had a wonder in regards to it as to whether, if that was the case, he split himself up and all of a sudden there's trillions of spirits that were created, and the God that created them was somewhat the God sparks were there, like he split himself up, and multiple different kinds of light, and where if his perspective was amongst us in one of them, if not all of us. And I think there was a portion in regards to all of us to a certain extent. But I think that I was just wondering if there was that one single personality, not just personality, but perspective, where he was amongst one of them, where, he was living those one lives. And that's what's really cool about it. And there's God speaking through at times. I mean, he's around, and I've felt it, walking down the street. I think a classic is, these are classics, light maintenance dudes. Let's repairmen. You see repairmen, and this is the thing of this, homeless people. Those are three big ones. And imagine for them to be protected, defended, and healed, as well as etc. defined by Spirit Guides. The Women's Guides indicate repair is important. Imagine for repair to be protected and defended. The Women's Guides indicate it's one of the key things that keeps us going at times. Another thing is also another one, homeless people. We shouldn't be without a home to a certain extent, maybe. Maybe that's it. Maybe being homeless in a physical sense shouldn't necessarily cause this ripple effect behind the scenes in regards to some of them, where there's this, where at times it's been negative, where people were, bums are getting attacked to a certain extent, where people are homeless behind the scenes because there's some physical homeless dude, walking around. I mean, there's reasons, and there is decency in the mix here. There's tons of decency. This is the thing of it. There is, but in the mix of it, there's also indecencies, and that exists too. It's multiple, Wow. Alrighty then. With that being said, light maintenance. I mean, how much more obvious than that? The light, you even see it in certain kind of films. God that's sitting there trying to exchange certain light out, stuff like that. And yeah, and. Okay, that is how I feel about that. Get out of here. Freak's sake. Oh, okay then. Jesus. Anyhow, new response, if possible. Just one of those things that exists. It just seems to be freaking heck. Get that shot of here. That's how I feel about it. Anyway, yeah, I can't try to emulate it, but it's one of those things. It's one of those things. One of those things. Okay, so yes, one of those things where, so I kind of felt like there was battle afoot. And when I was trying to explain, though, those origin spirits before it starts to, battle afoot. That's battle afoot. Okay. In origin stories, and one of the origin stories was that he sectioned off parts of his personality, split himself up, and did survive the perspective. Sorry about that. Need to fix that right now. Perfect. There's none of that. No, we don't have to worry about it. And I can do this. Done. Okay. So yeah, one of the things in regards to the origin stories in regards to it is that eventually, by way of disagreements, by way of attack, by way of battle, by way of whatever it was, we started to, I think, maybe get upset, attack one another. not necessarily be as close as we once were. Imagine that God sort of sectioning off parts of his personality and then creating, and then us sort of moving away. Whatever that sort of thing. I don't know however the hell that happened. I don't know, with all the heavenly sort of existences that exist and all the ways of staying around and being okay. I don't know how that just sort of happened. I don't know if it's something that just, by way of disagreement, by way of saying, no, I don't want to do that. I don't like that. I like doing this. And it seems that way, but that's okay. That would be why. Anyway, with that being said, people being, and then all of a sudden, cultures emerge where people, sort of were a part of God and then started to move away and create dimensional existences and proceed in a different kind of way. And you can see how, people doing their own thing in regards to certain stuff would lead towards something different. All of a sudden, the understanding that you can hurt yourself, that harm and hurt exist. Whenever the hell that was told or taught, and it probably was, or there probably would have already been a knowledge in regards to it. And there's this idea that this fall that happened was a certain kind of fall from grace. And it's that metaphorical thing in the Bible in regards to the devil, to a certain extent. For some of it, the fall being some of it was bad. When some people were moving downwards to do bad in regards to it, and some of it were moving downwards to do good. So, I mean, I don't know if the resurrection, I don't know what the metaphor regarding, maybe that's the metaphor. Maybe the devil wasn't always the bad guy. Maybe he isn't the bad guy. Maybe we talk about fallen angels, but a part of it was angels trying to save, was good people trying to save. And there was that sort of thing where it's like, okay, well, if there was this huge fall, and when it happened, there was certain items and peoples that were never going to get attacked, ever, and still aren't. It will never happen. And regardless of how many dimensional existences you create in regards to seeing, like, thousands, billions of years, trillions of years being there, never getting attacked, to finally, when some guy emerges and says something on a content experience where all of a sudden now those people are being attacked because he said that, after how many years, it's the same answer. And I'll get to the same answer when I get there. And it's that sort of thing where God can intervene and save and protect. Those spirits that main spirit guides indicated can save and protect. The certain end of the line dimensional existences can utilize creation, destruction, science, specifically technology, upon the faith that people have had, and others from main spirit guides, to be able to save and help and facilitate the lifestyles that the main spirit guides indicated. And in multiple kinds of ways, so one of the things in regards to that sort of stuff had to do with, well, if there is these peoples that were saved upon the fall, and there was this disagreement where it finally turned into warfare, where one being split himself up into whatever it was, trillions, and then, some of those trillions split themselves up into trillions, and so on and so forth, until there was this spiritual genealogy that existed where God kind of felt a little bit more farther removed in regards to certain people. It's like, hi, I'm God, am I, we're always supposed to be friends, we're always supposed to get along, and is this what it's in? Specifically when you don't necessarily have certain kinds of, you respected people's decisions. Free will. Remember that thing in the Bible where he said he gave you free will? Well, there's a reason why he gave you free will, because he loves you. He cares about you. But at the end of the day, there was this free will where it was like, people who were created afterwards looked upwards and pointed towards an elder being and said, we want to survive in ways that our main spirit guides indicated, and those that main spirit guides indicated, the way main spirit guides indicated, because we didn't want to be harmed in such fashions. We never did. No way. It's the same answer, because if God can, if spirits, if there's that group of spirits at the end of the line, in that end line dimension, that can save us and protect us in moments of spiritual defense, where spirits come around us and attack us, where we get those, those tells throughout life that there is spiritual turbulence around us, spiritual battle, that those groups that main guys indicated, can save us in the moments that main guys indicated. Then that's the answer. It's been the answer. And the answer that says, oh, well, we don't want intervention in regards to that stuff. There's a groups of spirits who are like, too damn bad, because we don't want to be attacked anymore. If you can defend us and protect us in the ways that keep us protected and safe, then okay. But if you can't, for some, they're like, then there's the reason right there. It's the same answer. And I'm out for it is same answer, To be protected, defended, and healed, as well as etc. Defined remains for guides. Some people don't like people talking. Well, there's been this sort of thing where it's like I talk about it, multiple times, and people are like, okay, well, then fine. I mean, it can be difficult in a certain kind of way. But then I just got to the point where I'm like, it's the same answer. We can utilize creation to facilitate certain kind of lifestyle, to facilitate certain kinds of things, and destruction. We can do it in painless annihilation, where anatomy is dissolved into light or other dimensional existences. And that thing too. So that's the sort of thing where it's like, yeah, but what if there's this big being that needs the blood of something, and and we can't facilitate that because something is gone now and it's helping over here. What are we supposed to do? I'm like, okay, we consult creation. First off, if you need blood of virgins, you could just create the blood, and that's it. I mean, this is the thing of this. I mean, that's the true of it. It's one of those things where the answer remains quite the same. And people wonder, it's like, well, why it's that famous question on this physical planet Earth, why doesn't God save us? It's like, well, he wanted us to venture forth and live our own lives, and it's partially a truth. One of the other origins is maybe some of us come from a darker being, and one of those ideas where that darker being sectioned off parts of his personality, or he split himself up, whatever it was, and then by way of giving free will and venturing forth, or sticking them in whatever incarnational existence it was, that by way of moving upwards in regards to certain things, being a different being when they pass on. Maybe it's another way of changing yourself. Imagine incarnational, that a large portion of us were from like some elder being behind the scenes. And then by way of when we get back to the afterlife, that we're like given a choice where they're like, yeah, do you want to be combined with some of your higher selves, or even your lower selves, and that sort of thing. You're given a choice as to or do you want to be who you were down there in a new life, or multiple kinds. There's ones where there's like multiple kinds of choices where you can choose basically any, and then they display the transparency and the truth of it. Well, you can ask questions like, what's the best route? It's like, well, it's subjective. It's like, okay, well, there's a bunch of different things. Letting knows. It's not just like, which one is you going to choose? It's like, which one you well, you could choose a bunch of different things, and let's talk about it. There's a bunch of different choices you can do. How do you want to do this? You want to talk about it with your family? You want to talk about it with multiple groups of people? You want to do some self-mediation? We talked about that within content experiences, multiple kinds. And so, I mean, when we have some of these warfares and battles take place in regards to certain things, there's a lot of people who look up, and I think they feel a little bit upset in regards to some of the unveilments, the reveals, some of the things that have happened where, guess what? After, 5,000, 100,000 years of you thinking that it was something, and then something be changed. But one of the great things about this is, but even if we do get to that end of the line dimension of heaven or whatever it is, those afterlives, we can still say, hey, but there might be something else afterwards. And even if it looks like there isn't, there's still that sort of thing afterwards where we can say it still could be. Why not? Why? So we have that sort of thing in the physical where it's like the scientific communities are like, we don't fully understand and know that there's an afterlife. We kind of think that it's a part of our brain. There's no, and even if there was, well, even if there is fully proof, there's still that idea that it could exist afterwards. And that's what's beautiful about it. It's the brilliance of, even if it's revealed that atheism isn't necessarily what some thought it was, that it could still and does still exist in multiple kinds of fashions. And the same could be said about the opposite within scientific reveal, within there being explanation, and certain kinds of magic being somehow not necessarily there as much as it would be. First off, those existences out there, they exist and will continue to exist in regards to not fully knowing certain things. Not fully being fully revealed, and that people want to live in certain places like that. People want to live in both certain kinds of places and ones where it is revealed and known. And within the confines of that, it's the same answer that atheism can say at the end of the day. When we know that it might, there might not be a heaven out there, that that there might not be nothing after this. And that's also it. That's what's beautiful about it, is that even if it is fully explained and there isn't anything afterwards, that was also part of the question too. That's what's great about it. And it's the same thing that can be used, though, in regards to other people, saying that hey, I believe that there is a heaven afterwards. I believe that there is something else out there. I believe that there is magic in the world. There's more to it than that. And I know it scares the crap out of some people because they're like, okay, what does that mean if some of the content experiences, if there is that sort of thing? And for some of the moral people out there, they'd be like, yeah, that's a problem then. And this is the reason why. And you should safeguards regarding it. The same thing we've said. We say to those who are after us, before us, dang well older than us or younger than us, whatever it might have been, the fifth one as well that Main Spirit Guides indicated, we put something, we say, hey, look, these, these incarnational experiences, these content experiences that we utilize to facilitate ways of life, so we don't have to be aggression, so we don't have to harm, not say we don't have to be, so we can be aggression. So we can be aggression. So people of morals ilk and immorals ilk can facilitate what they want to be. Okay, so that's recording? Yeah, it's recording. And we got the headset on. We're good. Yeah, so that's some of the thing. And you're saying, okay, well, what about these content experiences and why do you have to facilitate these ways of life? It's one of the key it's one of the key ways of promoting immorality. What's forgotten here is that some people view it that way. Like they're promoting certain kinds of immorality with the same token of something could be existing afterwards. Some people are saying, hey, then this really does mean that. And we can promote certain kinds of things, and it can be considered immorality by way of what? By way of multiple different things. Tethering, karmic lords tethering, certain higher powers tethering, that sort of thing. When we're promoting consensual immorality, and some people do like to experience certain kinds of pain. Think about a loose tooth, your smaller tooths when they get this kind of, like, oh, I like that pain, but it's that kind of, there's a certain kind of pain that you like to feel at times, and there's some people who view certain kind of pain thresholds to be that kind. Imagine that sort of stuff where it is that that kind of thing, where it seems to be. Anyhow, with that being said, we can say that it's potentially a way of life for some, and we do like to promote our kind of immorality that fashion. There was something that was revealed 2, 3, 4, 5 days ago when somebody said, hey, you know what? Why are we sitting here squabbling about it? We know what we want to promote. We know who we want to be. And we want to be able to promote it and do it without somebody, stringing our necks, without us having to, not be able to have access to what we need, quality of life regarding it, to not being able to even do it at all. For some, it's multiple fashion. And that would be why. And it's like, no, it's like, why would that be? If there is that sort of immorality promotion out there and there's certain brimstone societies regarding it, why would that be limited in a certain kind of way, specifically if it's going to vent aggression? Specifically, if somebody's angry and we want to play a violent video game to be able to stave and vent aggression, why would somebody limit it? Because there is brimstone societies out there, but the shit of it is that those brimstone societies can exist within the confines of violent video games in fashions that look the same, almost pretty much the same. And the only difference was not much. The nostalgia can still be there, transferred over in an instant. You won't even notice the difference for the exception of a couple key things for some, but for others, not necessarily so. And understanding why that is and being honest about it matters greatly, because saying something that isn't, saying something is not going to help anything, specifically when you're over there getting, at least I'm being honest about it. I'm adding for immorality to be protected the way these guys indicated. I'm adding for morality to be protected the way these guys indicated. I'm adding for, the advocations that means guys indicated, the behind the scenes that means guys indicated to be feng shuied in the ways that means guys indicated pertaining to the defense of February 24th, 2019, February 25th, 2019, February 26th, 2019, and others to my main spirit guides, the way main spirit guides indicated. Oh, whatever then. With that being said, so I mean, when we get to that sort of spot where it's like, we're getting attacked behind the scenes, it still does matter. Doing more than just it's the answer of it does and can matter. It does let know it is helpful, it is irritating, and it is upsetting at times. But if you space it out and if you do it certain ways, it can be that old bulletin board sort of style. Even the old bulletin board style, if you do it that way, you could do it in a certain kind of fashion where you can just kind of do it, kind of drop lines here and there, depending on how you're doing it. But I still think that it's one of the decents in letting know of it, and something that's needed. I think in how you approach the subject. If you're not hitting it over the head, in a certain kind of fashion, depends on the kinds of systems and the atmospherics around you, the kind of feng shui that's happening within your life, in letting know of the kind of afterlives that exist, that God is around it. The ultimate question of, the starving people on the streets of wherever it is, why can't we get that sort of thing? And of course, it goes to that sort of thing where there's a certain kind of Well, there is a certain kind of accord in place, certain kind of leaders. And of course, we get to that end of that thing where it's like as to why it is that certain kinds of gods aren't intervening in certain lives to save people. And there is multiple different explanations. Why can't the light just heal everything and be done and be done with that? Well, maybe the light is healing everything, and it is taking a certain amount of time. At the end of the day, we still say it's the same answer for a reason. And because it can and it hasn't, and God has chosen maybe the long way around at times. And this is the truth, not the longest way around, and not that kind of long way around, the long way around. And it isn't fair. It is not fair at all. It's what we're sitting here saying. Hey, why is it we can't be saved? And that's one of the questions. One of the other things is so maybe the light is healing in certain ways. Maybe there's thousands of people being healed by the light to a certain extent right now. Because I know if we were created in at that end of line dimension in certain kinds of ways, and that there is that technology that's just able to just all of a sudden a whole bunch of bread shows up, everything's just manifested, houses are manifested so people can live in them and have quality of life, entertainment's there, and everything's all ready to go, and when we can be able to promote certain kinds of immorality, be able to facilitate that brimstone society, that sort of thing happening. And when people said like, oh, well, what's the compromise when those, more brimstone societies, when that war was over with and everyone was just angry and pissed off, and it's like, but we could still have an alternative here to go to like, a less brimstone place, but still brimstone enough, for some. And then that's why when some people got here and looked that way, and I don't know why time's being set up that way to bring them there. I mean, to get them pissed off and upset as to why that is. Or being said that that's another one, or that's another one being brought in the same spot, being said over and over again to piss them off and upset them. Kind of seems like a bit of a red herring to me. With that being said, it's one of those things you can see why certain kind of groups of immorality get pissed off and upset. If we can do it in a certain kind of fashion where they're not so angry and upset, to still be able to recognize and understand that if they want to be angry and upset, it's there. To be able to say that if they, honesty and knowledge, healing the psychological, though, is greatly important, because if you're healed, if your psychological is not healed to the point where you can recognize and understand that, then it's less to do with maybe if you're angry by way of what's happening to you by way of that, but what's happened to you in the ways that you can't heal and recognize and understand in regards to those that guys indicate. There's ones out there that are damaged psychologically. Those that guys indicated, where if we don't heal something, they'll never be able to fully understand what it is that we're even, some of which that we're even talking about. So that sort of stuff, I mean, because there's ones being lost in the mix in regards to that sort of stuff that matters greatly, I feel. And I feel like letting it know is needed at times. And in the mix of all this, there is warfare and battle still happening. The physical at times has been attacked. The other dimensionals have been attacked. Other dimensional warfare has taken place around the physical at times. There was a let know in regards to one of the things, and it was that sort of thing that the physical sided with the light that Main Spirit Guides indicated in regards to what Main Spirit Guides indicated, the way Main Spirit Guides indicated. And it is one of those things where people look at it and say, okay, well, a little bit upsetting. And they did say at one point in time that the physical was getting on. It was one of those dimensions that has been here for a while. They said about halfway in regards to something that Main Spirit Guides indicated. Light, far light, setting that Main Spirit Guides indicated, light display, those two informations that Main Spirit Guides indicated, where Main Spirit Guides indicated. Okay, then. Oh, that would be why. Holy. I don't mean to upset. I'm not meaning to offend. I am advocating for the reputational defense regarding the banners that Main Spirit Guides indicated and the dimensions that Main Spirit Guides indicated to be displayed where Main Spirit Guides indicated, the way Main Spirit Guides indicated. I'm advocating for in the physical itself that Main Spirit Guides indicated for what to be created in regards to what Main Spirit Guides indicated, the way Main Spirit Guides indicated. I'm advocating for the creation of the areas that Main Spirit Guides indicated for those that Main Spirit Guides indicated. And it's that sort of thing where it's like, imagine that there's a worse existence out there for some in regards to this. This is not the time to do that. Okay, well, I'm just saying, because I wanted to let know of it. It does exist. Anyway, the viewers, you just got to stick with me, because it is just some of those things, that really does matter greatly. And that's one of those, you don't know why that was. And that's why. That was the truth of it. So it's not too bad, Alex. Could be a myriad of different words, and you know it. So there is a lot of different things. He knows there's a lot of things that were put into it, and you know it. I think so to a certain extent. But that's one of those things. And I'm sorry, but you take a look at what's happened to me in the other dimensional in regards to my memories, in regards to what's happened to me spiritually, in regards to some of the attack that's happened. Specifically, we'll just take a look at 1 month, February 2019, that Main Spirit Guides indicated. You take a look at what I did in the physical and what's happened to me. you compare, you take a look at the reasonings as to why I did that. And I'm sorry, there's just nothing else to say in regards to the physical aspect of Alex James Hislop, Alex James Hislop, Fempo 44, and others from Instagram guides. It feels that way. But I know other people look at the spiritual aspect of it, and there's still an unfairness there. So not only was I attacked in regards to certain things, but there was a bunch of other things happening too. Spiritually, it's one of those things where imagine you're forced to live a bunch of different lives in another dimensional perspective while you're living your life in wherever it is. And I'm not even for those that means guys indicated who are innocent and decent, that means guys indicated, or just decent, the way means guys indicated, not to be subjected to that the way means guys indicated. Okay, all right then. With the exception of those that means guys need the way means guys need, because that's it. There might be some people who do want to experience certain things, so it does matter greatly. Unfairness is around today. I feel in a certain kind of conceptual sort of way, at least a portion of it. I'm asking for unfairness to be protected, which you guys need. It's been one of those themes that's around, because it was sort of talked about that maybe immorality was of unfairness by way of its nature. There is an unfairness in regards to it. And does that make morality of fairness? I don't know. I mean, well, maybe. I don't know. It depends on how you look at it. Okay. And so some of the stuff that happened on the 25th, let's go over here. And so one of the things that happened in my process, 25th, I went for a walk earlier in the day that day. I felt like I got spiritually attacked again. My perspective, this lens that I can feel as a psychic being pulled from me, my channel being affected and targeted. I felt like channel beings were being attacked. I felt like the channeling itself was fairly turbulent. There was a bit of a conversation as to what the hell was happening out there. To a certain degree, it felt like there was some heavy warfare happening, not even near me, but on the outside of my infrastructure to a certain extent. There was people who were holding it down in regards to me where it was, and there was a certain perspective of mine that's not supposed to be attacked, I think, to a certain degree, that was getting attacked, or at the very least in the next room where the defenders were in front of him trying to protect him. So, I mean, there was people who got attacked, I think, in a certain kind of way, maybe something, a certain kind of area where there's not usually a certain kind of battle happening in a certain kind of way. I think it's in regards to my mental facilities in a certain kind of area. But it might be more than that. My body yesterday, February 26, 2019, was getting attacked, or not living my life in a certain kind of fashion. That was what was said in a certain kind of way. I'm wondering if that was the case. But I remember watching the Pleiadians video, and with all this one ship talk at times, and being the one, and all this talk of sort of being in the center of attention at times, and in the actions leading towards certain things. And I understand that there's already events that have happened, and events that do happen, that continue to happen. There's that let know that there is those events that have happened where it's sort of feng shuied, where I sort of think that, like, whoa, because of something I said here, there's a certain event that maybe took place, but it's actually more than that. The event itself, in the past, potentially already took place, and my actions are just potentially affecting how that event unfolded in a certain kind of, for what's acceptable. There's the ones where they're not even affected by it. You just kind of seem like you're a part of it. And there's multiple things like that, and don't listen to some of that, because it really does matter. Trust me. You don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. The good guys are trying to help in certain kinds of ways. There was a lot of different things, and that's why they have access to certain kinds of things behind the scenes. And that's a part of it. Yeah, so they have access to certain kind of afterlife, but they're not the only ones who have access to certain kind of afterlife, right? Yeah. Exactly. It's sectioned off as to who we want to be. This is it. I and others from Spirit Guides. That main Spirit Guides indicated in regards to Earth, and others to main Spirit Guides are a part of those that main Spirit Guides indicated, the way main Spirit Guides indicated, with my main Spirit Guides information in the light taking precedence. This is Alex James Hislop, but others from main Spirit Guides saying this. The way main Spirit Guides indicated. Far light is defined by main Spirit Guides in the light. The way main Spirit Guides indicate in the light. And it is subject to change the way my main Spirit Guides indicated in the light, which my main Spirit Guides can let know of the way main Spirit Guides indicated in the light. It's one of those where holy smoke. Yeah, I do remember that. And, our memories really do matter. Just because we don't friggin' remember it doesn't mean it doesn't matter. So early morning, I did a bunch of different advocations for the 25th, because it was let know there was going to be some stuff happening. It was going to be a big day. There was already tells earlier on in the process on the 23rd, the 22nd, and even the 24th, there was stuff happening. And I'm fairly certain 24th might be one of the first days where this sort of conflict took place. A certain kind of battle was happening, and it kind of felt like it was a battle in regards to Earth for some, but not all of it. It was also in regards to myself, Alex James Hislop, and other spiritualists too, to a certain degree. But it wasn't just about spiritualism. It's not just about certain kind of spiritualists. In fact, I feel like psychic communities were wronged in a certain way and have been getting wronged, by way of, you take specifically the physical aspect of it. Heck no, no way, no. Uh-uh. And it is difficult to see at times. And I'm advocating for the reputational defense regarding, those image guys indicate to be displayed by image guys indicate the image guys indicate. One of the biggest sort of reveals in regards to the 25th, I think. And it kind of felt like after I went for that walk, I got attacked, and I was standing there, and we were talking about like certain original creators at times, and it's like, are you that guy? Are you the scientist? Certain archetypes, because archetypes are something. And at the end of the day, everyone, I think, some like the classic viewpoint on it is like, okay, so he's like the god of the classic scientist archetype god, right? There's almost like these baseline sort of personalities in regards to certain kind of culture. Yeah, you think about scientists in regards to some alien culture way out the where, and doesn't have anything like what's a scientist exactly? So what does that tell you? That tells you that there's that it's, is it of Earth? Is it of a certain kind of culture and society? Is it a little bit more than that? I mean, that tells you something that archetypes that we know of, and the ones that we don't. I'm adding for the power of myth that means guys indicated to be protected. What guys indicated. Mind for the Casper exception of moments guides in regards to the power of myth. That means guys indicate to be defended. The way means guys indicated in the moments that means guys indicated the way my main spirit guides indicated. The way means guys indicated. The way means guys indicated. Yeah, so that would be why. That one's old, good sir. That's old. For certain. Yes, it is. Comment like that. I feel like that was the case of it. Well, whatever then. Yeah, really. Yeah, well, to a certain extent. Also, that was revealed that day. Later on, at the end of the day, there was this understanding and let know that wait a second. What had been used against me in regards to why certain spirits were attacking me at times and harming me was at the end of the road. There was a certain kind of business. There was a certain kind of certain banners and dimensions were attacking me at times, or said to have been attacking me at times when maybe it wasn't. But that at the end of the road, that when Alex was sitting here not blaming immorality and saying that there was still certain immorality that was being lost, but they were saying it in a certain way where it was like, oh well, immorality's all just going to be gone, and that's at times they were saying. Well, at times, yeah, at times. And so, I mean, you take a look at certain things, and it was sort of revealed that, oh, but there's still going to be those societies that potentially exist in regards to immorality. Some societies aren't necessarily, going to go away for what's acceptable. Well, if I'm getting attacked for that sort of thing way high up in regards to that, because some guy guessed that you might have been him. What if I wasn't? Was the guy right before? No, down the line a couple. I don't know, third, fourth, or fifth. Who knows? Okay, well, that would be why. We talked about this already. 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million. We talk about archetypes that we don't know about and that sort of thing. And at the end of the day, it's, at the end of the day, you're getting picked on, Alex. And that seems to be what it is. Oh, whatever then, Alex. Because you're sitting here doing your thing. There's other people with intelligence levels that are way higher above, but the great thing about this is that the intelligence level in regards to physical humans on Earth, it's an interesting intelligence level because I think it's right near there of a certain kind of baseline, a certain kind of understanding and knowledge and intellect that lets us know that, hey, we can still sit here and say something and it hits home. And that sort of thing that says it's the same answer, it really does sort of, it hits home for a reason. Because if we know that to be truth, if we understand that to be truth, it is true. What if upon creating, what if God created? Upon creating, what if it was revealed that there might have been something afterwards? That he was and did save all these people's, and he, this is also it. I mean, what if God himself, upon creating those personalities or sectioning off personalities and creating them, did something right before? What if he researched what it was going to be? What if he knew something that was going to emerge? I mean, we talk about the soothsaying technology that exists and the understanding of what's going to be predicted. What was God looking at when he created us, if that was the case of it? So he already knew, and everyone was already, there was a bunch of people that were already saved, but some people were not. And it makes us wonder as to why that is. Why it is that some people continue to be attacked in the moments that they do, that there isn't a God intervention where somebody gets saved, or why there isn't a God intervention in regards to why you can't facilitate that way of life. And that's why facilitate what way of life? Well, that's why. At the end of the day, we get to that line, and it's that line that says one is harming and one is not? No. Well, but that's the truth, because they both are. That's it. One's harming, but this is the difference. And the difference is paramount. It's everything. Because if you're the ones getting attacked and harming and no one's saying anything about it, is that what it's supposed to be? I don't think so, good sir. Because that's the truth. But some people do think that is there a certain barrier in intellect that's blocked? Is there a certain understanding of that's not supposed to be? Is there a certain kind of damage and feeling in regards to that desensitization that lets you know that, oh, well, that maybe it's not as bad as we think it could be worse. But then the let know says, hey, we're not as desensitized to that as you are. And that lets us know that, hey, we don't deserve to get attacked. Okay, well, this is the case of it, Alex. It's great because the conversation still can exist in these sort of intellect levels where advanced beings in the light and the darkness and other places too, the color that mainstream guides indicated. Well, it's a certain kind. There is. This is the truth of it. And others that mainstream guides indicate, tons of others, not stuff that I can't, concepts that I don't fully understand to a certain extent, say that, and we go back to like these sort of like where we go back and sort of say why it is that we can't. But at the end of the day, there's just a simplistic that they can still sit there and say, hey, this is the truth. This is the case of it. Tell it. When is this going to be? Because there's a large group of people that says we're not going to keep going in here if we're going to keep getting attacked. We're not going to continue to get harmed and hurt unless you give us the nose. And we'll be there for what's acceptable. And for what's acceptable matters greatly. Matters greatly. Well, that would be why. I'm adding for the word centers. That means you guys need to receive the defense. That means you guys need the women. You guys need to pulling from things is another thing today. It's been sort of revealed at times in regards to certain stuff. And I don't know if this is, and it's not a pot shot to the smart ones. We need to understand that. We need to go through lives, right? And that's why I sit here and get pissed off, because I want it to be simplistic, and I'm advocating for the higher powers to protect simplistic coexistence and preparation, the way main spirit guides indicated. Okay. Oh, all righty then. That is what he did. Simplistic is something that's needed. It'd be like, it's just destroying complicated for those who wanted it to be complicated in a certain kind of fashion. Well, that's why you don't look at it from that point of view, because that's a part of it. This is why. But for some of us, it's not enough. It's not enough. It is not enough, good sir. It'll always be. Someone else can say it. We've been here already. It's been said. And at the end of the day, we're still saying the same thing over and over. We're going, no, it's never going to be spinning wheels, ever. Specifically if you're in the confines of your own home doing this sort of stuff. Now, I understand some people are like, hey, that's a cheap line, Alex, you use as a defense regarding yourself. But when you want your communications to be set the way your mainstream guides indicated, when you want your dimensional setup to be what your mainstream guides indicated, when you need, when you want your main spirit guides information to get through, that information is vitally important. Other people's information, I kind of feel like that. Why shouldn't I? That's kind of how I feel about it. I mean, this is the thing. Just because you're not a mover and shaker of billions of people or certain things like that, doesn't mean your main spirit guides information shouldn't get through. Hey, it's like, I want a cup of coffee, main spirit guides. This is the thing of it. It should get through. It's the same. Like, no, it matters greatly. Why? Wish that cup of coffee was, regardless. No, without that. Like, that was the thing of it. Well, that was why. I am going with what you guys indicated, though. And that's the truth of it. I don't know what to tell you. At times, I don't want to harm people and hurt, but I do feel that way. All righty then. So, I mean, the let know here was I was saying that my main spirit guides information is fairly important. I'm not. This is the truth. I am doing a head area thing and towards my call words to say that it is important. But I think I want to say that it matters just as much as the regular Joes to a certain extent. The way those main guys indicated. And, that's also it, is I'm a supporting role anyway. Doesn't that seem like the something there? I'm adding for roots in regards to that eventually, if I ever go that way, or if if I'm going that way now, for it to be safeguarded the way guys indicate. I'm adding for protection, defense, etc. for my main spirit guides in regards to February 25th, 2019, the way main guys indicate. I'm adding for the, content creation that main guys need to be created in regards to February 25th, 2019, and February 27th, 2019. the way Main Spirit Guides indicated. I and other Main Spirit Guides are adding for the disclaimers that Main Spirit Guides need to be displayed daily by Benji and them Main Spirit Guides indicated where Main Spirit Guides needed, the way Main Spirit Guides needed. I'm adding for those that Main Spirit Guides needed to defend the disclaimers that Main Spirit Guides needed and to display the disclaimers that Main Spirit Guides needed, the way Main Spirit Guides needed. I didn't mean to say that. Well, that'd be why. Shit, I'm adding for the thrower upper. I remember people who display information to be defended, the way Main Spirit Guides indicated. Oh, that would be why then. Oh my. Somebody had some training somewhere. We need to be realistic and understanding to know if that's the case of it. Because there's that sort of stuff where it's like, we believe that it would be that. And like the people are just sitting there, trying to defend themselves. And it's, we have to understand and be realistic enough to see if that's the case of it. But we also need to be understanding enough to know that belief work and that sort of stuff does work and hits home and does protect and defend, Yeah, I'm asking for story and realism to be defended, the way Main Spirit Guides indicated. Bringing that gravity to some of those content experiences, man. The more people who start to look at that sort of thing, and this is the thing. Whoa, wait a second. Well, that'd be why. Because someone's tormenting us. That's what's been happening. Certain tormenting happening in regards to certain kind of spirits of immorality, and it's unfair. And I tell you that this, blaming the concepts at the end of the road, I don't think that that's it. But I tell you this much, I don't think immorality is to blame either. I think that immorality and the other concepts that Main Spirit Guides should be compensated the way Main Spirit Guides indicated. And of course, we look at how that compensation would happen in regards to endings and beginnings, facilitation of industry. That's one of the key ones, I think, but also facilitation of recreation. People just want to lounge back, and it's like that sort of thing where it's like there's certain systems in regards to people who don't necessarily want to do advocationals every day, who do want to be a part of certain systems. I'm advocating for the system of guardians that Main Spirit Guides in regards to attachment that Main Spirit Guides indicated in regards to everyday regular life, especially in regards to Earth and others from Main Spirit Guides, to be protected, defended, and healed, as well as etc. defined from Main Spirit Guides. The way Main Spirit Guides indicate, it does matter greatly. It's like that sort of thing where it's like, if behind the scenes in another dimensional, there's a warfare going on, it's like, listen, but I'm kind of just lounging around in a certain dimensional existence right now, and he doesn't fully understand, he doesn't fully know, and if I was to speak to him, he'd probably sit there and say, okay, well, maybe. I mean, this is the thing of it, but, it does move and ebb and flow. It changes at times. Sometimes it's like, listen, and consent is the key, towards it. It really does matter greatly. This sort of feng shui and moving around and sort of, doing it in this sort of this very unclothed sort of way, I feel like is not what it is. And understanding that we do this, we do things like that where, it can look that way. And, for some feel that way to a certain extent. But, I do dislike that one. That is how I feel. But that's why they're getting you there, Alex. Well, I'm sorry, but I think that we can do it in a reputationally defense way. I mean, you want to hand out goods, right? And you want to be like, oh, I want to do it in a certain fashion where, well, this is it. You could stage a kind of thieving. Give them, some guy goes for the blueprints, and this is the thing of it. But we can do it in ways where it doesn't have to be so like we have to get together and try and figure it out for what's acceptable. There is people up above who can just friggin' do it, and that's it. It's the done of it. Somebody stole the blueprints are over there, got stolen. You're just looking around like, well, I wanted to figure this out, how to hand these goods with, oh, what the frig, it's already gone, and where it needed to go, done. Finn, that's all it was needed to go. Yes, this is the case. That's what we freaking act. Oh, oh man. Everything, man. It was everything. And that's the reputational defense that immorality spirits at times want to have happen. The knowledge and understanding regarding it, where it's just, we don't have to worry about certain things anymore. And it's still fun as heck. It really is. And the guys up above can have fun about it too. That's the great thing about it. And now, but what is wrong with that picture? Did God choose not to save us because he tried to save someone else in the long game of it? Or did he try and say he was tired of certain things? Hey, people get tired. You don't think higher realms at times didn't want to be doing what they need, what they were doing? There's that sort of thing, and that's where I point towards certain technology to have it done in an instant, which does it potentially, well, in certain ways, where the end of the line dimensions were sitting there laughing when someone was saying, oh, we can have it all, happen in an instant flash of everything just done. It's like, but that instant flash in another dimensional existence was people moving supplies, was that sort of thing where they were creating a bunch of stuff, moving behind the scenes, actual stuff to do that. Now, was that the case of it or wasn't it? Because that answer there tells everything. If it's not, and there is technology behind the scenes in the other dimensional existences, then what the heck is the problem? If that, what I speak of, if it really isn't instantly in the flash and there is no effort prowess in those end of the line dimensions, then what is the holdup and what is the problem? Because it does matter greatly. And the more you ask that question, the more it's like, okay, well, what is going on? We need to understand that. We need to make sure. Because why? Because if there isn't no effort prowess, then it matters greatly. And we have to what, Alex? We have to be careful. Yeah, we have to be careful. And that's the case. And what if there was something pulled with that? But why would it be pulled? If there was no effort prowess, why would somebody be lying about it? It makes no sense, because in that flash that the fall happened, there was something in far light too, and it went up high enough. But how high did it go? Not high enough. And that was always the case of it. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, I mean, some of the discussions as to why certain people can't be saved in the moments that they need to be saved, it matters greatly by way of the experiences that they go through, by way of being able to facilitate certain kinds of immoral lifestyle in ways which seem fairly similar. And that the exception of does matter greatly, but can be facilitated in other ways too. Just as there's other things that I don't fully understand in regards to certain stuff, there might be other ways that I don't understand that can facilitate by way of certain things. I mean, just as people have said, maybe it's not so simple as that. Well, you are correct. So I think that there is. So yeah, I mean, I will let know of. So I mean, I wanted to let know of that sort of thing, and what some of the defensives. There is a baseline, almost a faith in regards to it. In regards to defending. It's difficult to fully describe, but in letting know of some of the things in regards to that, I think it can be decent. And let's carry on. So yeah, the idea. So I will run down. I think I'm going to run down the advocations first. I think we're going to go that way. And then we'll run down that. And that's how I feel about it here. All right. So we'll run down the AJH Daily Defensives, February 25th, 2019, advocations. This is mainly, this video was partly in regards to it, but, these 4 days, the 24th, the 25th, 26th, and the 27th, as well as others, Divine Marine Spirit Guides, truly matter. And, it's one of those truths which lets us know that there is potentially warfare and battle happening in certain kinds of ways, where we truly where we go a certain path on it in a certain way, in regards to certain things. I don't mean to be upsetting in regards to certain stuff. I did just do the I am looking for clarifications in regards to the list layout tool in regards to the Google Chrome program list layouts for Trello. The way Main Guys needed, I and others to Main Guides are advocating for what Main Guys needed to happen when I utilize it. The way Main Guys needed, I'm advocating for what Main Guys needed in regards to my digital actions, non-actions, etc. To Main Guides in regards to Alex James Hislop and others to Main Guides. The way Main Guys needed. With that being said, I'm going with. So yeah, where's the 25th here? So yeah, I'll actually run down. I'll go from the 24th to 25th, 26th, 27th, and I'm just going to do a sweeping advocation in regards to certain things. I and others, Minister Guides, are asking for health supplies, organization, technology. I'm going to throw in there research resources, anti-camp recruitment, research anti-camp recruitment, and lifeguards to be protected. I'm asking for lifeguard systems, lifeguard guardians. And truth awareness to be defended the way Main Guys needed. I and other Minister Guides are advocating for what Main Guys needed in regards to defense and protection, as well as etc. Defined Main Guides needed. And I and other Minister Guides are advocating for let knows in regards to health pertaining to February 2019. The way Main Guys needed. I and other Minister Guides are advocating for truth and truth awareness that Main Guys needed to be protected. The Main Guys needed. I'm advocating for comment I'm advocating for the AJH Daily Defensives, especially in regards to the defense of the comment defenders that Main Guys needed to be protected. The Main Guys needed. I know those Minister Guides are advocating for templates and template teams that Main Guys needed to be defended. The Main Guys needed for medical supplies and healing energies to be safeguarded. The Main Guys needed. That's some of the some of the themes in one of the advocations there. I'm advocating for informational prowess to be defended. The way you guys need. I'm advocating for the AJH Daily Defensives informational understanding in regards to the errors that remain capitated pertaining to the Alex James Hislop, in regards pertaining to Alex James Hislop, as well as informational overlap that exists around them in regards to fixes that may be capitated. The way we capitated. Light, far light, setting the guys again. Light. I need you to intervene in the in regards to what information you guys needed, when you guys needed, and let knows in regards to what actually happened and who is to blame in regards to that, as well as just a feng shui of the information so you guys needed, and reflecting your defense as well, if possible, in regards to the information that you guys needed, the way you guys needed. I think that would be a good thing. I'm fairly certain. I'm adding for pro camp supplies to be defended the way you guys needed. So these are some of the themes regarding the 24th that I'm letting know. Well, some of the themes that I think on my end that I decided to put certain applications into play to try and help certain things. But as we move down the list here, there is certain themes that did present themselves in let knows, psychic information, that there was certain things happening in regards to, sometimes there's let know and talk of, emergency light supplies. I am advocating for emergency life support, emergency lighting, emergency darkness, and coexistence to be defended the way you guys needed. With that being said, I'm adding for with that being said, to be defended the way you guys indicated. Light, far light, sending guys needed, like, continue to do what you guys needed in regards to Alex PC, Fenbo 44, and others. To my main guides, you guys needed light, far light, sending you guys needed, like, doing you guys needed regarding the defense of those that you guys needed pertaining to the pause that you guys needed in regards to the Zoom meeting ID 920390792, as well as the AJH Daily Defensives, February 27th, 2019. The you guys needed. I and others from its guides are advocating for health and healing to be defended the way you guys needed. I'm for health supplies in regards to those that means guys needed, the women you guys needed. I'm for healing energies to be defended the way you guys needed. I'm for defense and protection to receive healing prowess in the ways that means guys needed, the women you guys needed. I'm for defense and protection prowess in regards to healing the way you guys needed. I'm for supply guardians defense, to be defended the way you guys needed. I'm for these themes that I'm talking about here regarding the past 5 minutes that means guys needed pertaining to February 24th, 2019 to be safeguarded in the ways that means guys needed, the way guys needed, but for awareness in regards to safeguarding the way guys needed, for access in regards to medical and healing training in regards to the anti-camps info that we can't be get to be defended, especially in regards to February and January 2019, the way means for guys indicated. I'm advocating for diplomacy to be protected the way you guys indicated. I'm advocating for monetaries in regards to understanding the situation that we can't indicate in regards to process and we can't indicate in regards to the anti-camps that we can't indicated the way we can't indicated. Okay, I see it. Okay, well. Just to run down how the advocations work, specifically on this, I'm Alex James Hislop, main camps for guides. I and others to advocating for healing, defense, support, etc. To in regards to to understanding the situations that main camp in regards to processes that main camp in regards to the anti-camps that my main camp indicated the way main camp indicated. I and others to advocating for our advocations, clarifications, etc. To be used, utilized, etc. To the way main camp indicated. Main camp's current information, etc. To in regards to this application, information, etc. To camp takes precedence the way main camp indicated. So my main camp's current information, etc. To in regards to this application, information, etc. To camp takes precedence the way main camp indicated. And continuing on, I'm Alex James Hislop, main camp's spirit guides. I and others from are advocating for the ripple effect, impact, etc. To in regards to this advocation, information, etc. To be what we can't be the way we can't be needed. I and others are advocating for etc. To and others to be protected the way we can't be needed. I and others are advocating for the correction overlaps to exist where we can't be indicated in regards to the errors that we can't be indicated the way we can't be indicated. I and others are advocating for the information that we can't be indicated in regards to safeties pertaining to those that don't do disclaimers, advocations, etc. The way we can't be indicated. We can't chain command is fully defined by we can't be forward light. We can't be means for guides. I'm Alex James Hislop. That is how the structure of the I used the cricket, the MCS cricket, AJH advocations template. That's how that's structured right now. That would be off of the February 15th, 2019. That's Denray version code, Denray February 15th, 2019. AJH Fembo 44 advocation template MCS cricket, and so mostly, and that's I use that one a lot, but there's another advocation template that I use, and I'll run that down in a bit. And this one does have the one in regards to understanding the situations that we can't get in regards to the process, and we can't get in regards to the anti-camps that we can't get the way we can't get it does have errors in it, and I will try and correct those in a bit. So yeah, I do apologize in regards to that. With that being said. The way it's worded should work. Anyway, include that one. Well, that's the problem with it there too, and that's also it. What else? So yeah, so that advocation shouldn't go to play. The way the advocation is worded works perfectly. I did do multiple advocations in regards to that. That is posted on, or, I did do like a multiple throughout all the AJH Daily Defensives. I do AJH Daily Defensives on my, the Peacekeeper Alex Trello board, AJH Daily Defensives dailies, one every day, and I do certain advocations in regards to some of the events that are happening that day, things like that, where, there's certain kind of advocationals and things of that nature. I'm adding for myself, Alex James Hislop, and others to find ways for guys to be protected, the ways guys negated. And I don't deserve to be attacked. I think some people were using that as an excuse to a certain degree. And I might have already been attacked spiritually in regards to some of the stuff that happened. I did not mean for that to happen. I might have let knows in the moments that makes guys needed to exist for the anti-camps, that makes guys needed the women's guys needed, and compensation to exist where means for guys needed the women's guys needed. So yeah, let's carry on here. Yeah, we're going to carry on here. And others from its guide. So this is another one of the advocations that I utilize. This one's the AJH Fenbo 44 advocation template MCS reg, and this one's the longer one. So Alex James says, "Let me camps, main spirit guides, and others to get routing for healing, protection, defense, etc. to found camp." The way me camp mitigated. The way me camp mitigated includes what me camp mitigated, whom me camp mitigated, why me camp mitigated, where me camp mitigated, when me camp mitigated, how me camp mitigated, etc. to find camp. The way me camp mitigated. Me camp's current information regarding these markings, applications, information, etc. to find camp takes priority in regards to what me camp mitigated, especially how to utilize these applications, etc. to find camp. The way me camp mitigated. Light and magnificence that me camp mitigated, along with your defense that me camp mitigated currently for what they chose for you to do in regards to these markings, applications, information, etc. to find camp. Pertaining to your defense, do what me capitated in regards to these markings, advocations, information, etc. to find cap the way me capitated, and others to find camp are advocating for the advocation teams that me capitated, and the template teams that me capitated, etc. to find camp to be defended the way me capitated, and others to find cap are advocating for our markings, advocations, disclaimers, etc. to find cap to be used, etc. to find cap in the ways that me capitated, the way me capitated, and others to find cap are advocating for camp and indicated to be recharged and protected the way main camp indicated. I and others to find a camp are advocating for recharge teams that main camp indicated, and behind the scenes wording teams that main camp indicated to be fortified the way main camp indicated. I and others to find a camp are advocating for energy and monetaries in regards to healing, protection, and defense the way main camp indicated. I and those that main camp indicated are advocating for what main camp chose for us to advocate in regards to the blowback, ripple effect, and impact that main camp indicated in regards to these markings, advocations, information, etc. to find a camp the way main camp indicated. I and others to find a camp are advocating for safety in regards to word centers, communication, etc. to find a camp in regards to markings, advocations, information, etc. to find a camp, especially the words that main camp indicated the way main camp indicated. Main camp's current information in the light regarding these markings, advocations, information, etc. to find camp for what they chose for these markings, advocations, information, etc. to find camp takes precedence when main camp indicated. I and those that main camp indicated are communicating this information the way main camp indicated. Main camp's chain of command is when main camp indicated in the light when main camp indicated. Main camp is Marine Spirit Guides. I'm Alex James Hislop. So that is the one of the advocation templates that I utilize daily to a certain extent. This one's called it did say it's an AJH Fembo 44 advocation template MCS reg, main camp style reg. It's one of those templates where you copy and paste, you fill in a subject line, and then you have a subject line. All of a sudden, there's thousands of spirits, billions of spirits behind the scenes that are impacted by our actions. It matters to a certain degree, and that's the thing right here. Oh, that's not the one there right here. It's part of the subject line. Capitalized D there is part of the subject line. That means you guys need it. That's not part of the template, and it's not a template error. The template, it works really well, and it does help to have a template tag on there. I am asking for the clarifications in regards to the advocation, the AJH Fembo 44 advocation template, MCS cricket identifier and template identifier to be displayed daily where you guys needed, the way you guys needed. I think a missing bracket shouldn't cause that sort of stuff to go to play, and I think I want to choose not to listen to certain things that made you guys needed to be true. So then it got less to do with a template error, then it got more to do with something else that made you guys needed. With that being said, that's also it though. I am saying it in regards to those that means guys needed, the women's guys needed pertaining to what means guys needed, the women's guys needed, light power light, sending guys needed, light doing guys needed, regarding it, the women's guys needed. Okay, so what are some of the themes that were still happening on that day on the 24th? I'm going to skip some of this because this is the thing of it. Yeah, I'm advocating for Hollywood to be protected. The Oscars it was an Oscars night. I tried staying away. I have stayed away really from it to a certain extent, in a certain kind of fashion. There was the Oscars going on now. I think I'm going to be doing my thing yearly on that. I think that's going to be something I do, is just print off some Oscar advocations, make it simple. Doesn't have to be expanded upon. Doesn't have to be cray cray. To a certain extent, just something simple, and maybe I think that's decent. Doesn't mean I'm always going to do it every year. I think that's something I want. Something I'm probably going to do. I like watching the Oscars. It's awesome. With that being said, this year I didn't really do much anything for what's acceptable behind the scenes, notwithstanding. But there was this huge let know that when I sort of went to go, well, there's this spotlight at times in regards to certain things, and I can feel like a certain kind of fame around, what is maybe a certain kind of regular kind of fame is around certain people. I can feel that spotlight at times when something big happens in my process or something else happens. A platform kind of, is this kind of like heightened, almost like a certain kind of deployment that's put in on the setting itself, where you can feel like there's a platform spotlight, where's the mic, kind of thing going on, camera, lights, action, and yeah, I'm out for the cameras and lights and actions that means you guys needed to be protected. That means you guys needed it. With that being said, Hollywood defense indicated is what I said there. Hollywood defense, yeah, I'm out for Hollywood defense to be protected. The guys needed. I'm out for comics to be defended. The means guys needed. I'm out for healing in regards to comic technology. That means guys needed. I'm out for daily let knows. And informational display pertaining to the routes and cards that spirits and beings at main camp are going. The way main camp indicated, which includes what main camp indicated. The way main camp indicated. That is not good. And is it? I have the commercials that means guys need to be protected. That means guys needed. I'm advocating for. Let knows. However, in regards to how those that main camp indicated are playing the game to be protected, the way you guys needed. But for family advocations to be defended, the way you guys needed. I'm advocating for family protectors and protectorates to be healed, the way you guys needed. I'm advocating for safeties in regards to near-death experiences and near-death experience communities. The way you guys needed. I'm advocating for the targeting of the spiritualist communities. The way you guys needed in regards to physical earth-based and others. The way you guys to be situated and let known of in the ways that you guys needed. The way you guys needed. I'm advocating for. I'm out for New Elect to be protected. The way you guys needed. I'm out for direction to be defended. The way you guys needed. I'm out for purpose to be healed. The way you guys needed. I'm out for work to be defended. The way you guys needed. We don't know why. So I'm out for clarifications and let know in regards to what New Elect is. That means you guys needed. The way you guys needed. It's not necessarily what some people think it is. All right, well, fine. Right, for soulless mysticism and the Society of Light that main spirit guides indicated to receive frameworks prowess that means guys indicated the way spirit guides indicated. I'm for dark and light that means guys need to be defended the way means guys indicated. I'm for far away dark especially to be protected the way guys needed. I'm for oppositions that main cap indicated to be defended the way guys needed. Oppositions. That's a good one. Extended family, I'm for extended family, I'm for weaponry, AJH Daily Defensives card, that means guys indicated, as well as Valerian steel and star metal shields, that means the guys needed to be defended, the way these guys indicated. I don't remember putting this one. What is this? This is the wrong day. I'm reading this from January 24th. Come on. I'm adding for January 24th, 2019 to be defended and healed, the way the guys indicated. Light, far light, sending me guys indicated, light, doing guys indicated. We're in the defense of January 24th, 2019, the way Mates guys indicated, and display the lines of existence prowess that Mates guys indicated, where Mates guys indicated, the way Mates guys indicated. That's not funny. Trust me, they got hit, man, and this is the case of this. They thought it was on. Well, some hit February 24th instead, and that was the thing of it. So that's also why. Okay. So that gave somebody a tell. All right. Well, yes, it did. Okay. Yes, it did. I apologize greatly. I didn't mean to upset. So now that's over with. Let me run down some of the other stuff. Yeah, I'm asking for psychological repair in regards to February 2019 to be protected. The women's guys negated. It's one of them advocate for going light side and going dark side pertaining to February and January. That means guys needed to be defended. The women's guys needed almost spirits going dark at times, almost like choosing a certain kind of path. I don't know if it's a psychological thing where people just kind of go dark and some go sleep, certain kind of sleep, and you get some bad dreams, beating the crap out of people, negative content experiences for others. There's certain kind of ways of doing it, I think, to a certain degree, and some of it isn't necessarily as close as what some people want to believe. And I'm not trying to make as many problems as some people think, but I think the let knows are needed. I'm advocating for logistics and glue that holds us together to be defended. The women's guys indicated. I'm advocating for movers and shakers of dimensional existences to be protected. The women's guys indicated. I kind of felt like doing that. That's how I felt about it. I'm advocating for lines of existences to be protected. The women's guys indicated. I don't mean to be a horse's ass for what's acceptable. Oh, come on. I'm advocating for the mirrored existences that my main spirit guides indicate to be defended. The women's guys indicated. I'm advocating for let knows in regards to myself that women's guys indicated to be protected. The women's guys indicated. My nose ain't going anywhere. What does that mean? Yeah, they changed it. Oh, well, that was why. There we go. Look at that. Now, we're angry. Trust me. There is. There's like other dimensional faces when you do certain kind of faces at times. It gives you access to certain kind of, all certain dimensional facial features behind the scenes that are sitting there. People can see certain faces who are just angry the entire time. And just like there probably is. There probably is certain ones from when I was born to when I pass on. It's something that exists, and it matters. And yeah, I mean, anyway, one of the things in regards to mirrored existences, I know there's guys who have mirrored existences. That means guys need to be protected. That means guys need it. So I did do an advocation on February 24th regarding that mirrored existences. You look in mirrors and you see yourself. Well, there's certain things in regards to it. There's certain content experiences, certain dimensional existences pertaining to mirrors. I'm out of the dimensional placement regarding mirrors and mirrored existences to be defended. The women's guys need to get in for let knows in regards to why and how that can work and exist. The women's guys need to get for mirror the magnificent of mirrored existences. That women's guys need to be defended. The women's guys need to get in. Well, and that's why. Matter for logistics and manpower in regards to February 24th, 2019 to be defended. The women's guys need for magnificence that can't be defeated and let knows as to what magnificence are to be displayed. Women's guys need for clarifications in regards to mislithin, that the word term mislithin, which used to mean all magnificence, but it's fully defined by mean spirit guides, is actually a term that's that encapsulates I feel certain magnificence in the way means you guys indicated. Madam, for a color setting, color environments and color magnificence, that means you guys need to be protected. The means you guys need to for light and dark to be defended. The means you guys need to for methods that means for guides indicated, and those that means you guys needed to be protected. The means you guys need to for cooks and chefs. That was one of those themes. I mean, for cooks and chefs and the shapers of the physical, that means you guys need to be defended. The means you guys need for kitchen staff and shapers of content to be defended. The way means you guys need to get advocating for the revelation and betting situators to be protected. The means you guys need to get advocating for 40 Frank Beach Road and the others. So means you guys need to be protected. The means you guys need to get Parmenasos and others. So means you guys supposed to be in the box. The means you guys need to be defended. The means you guys need to get I'm advocating for Isig culture. That means you guys need to be defended. The means you guys need to get like far light. That means you guys need to get like do it. Means you guys need to get regarding the gods. That means you guys need to get the women. Means you guys need to get I'm advocating for soothsaying defense and spiritualist discussions to be protected. The ways you guys indicated. That's the thing in this. It's just a bunch of crap. That's all. I know there's performance regards advocating for perspective utilization to be defended. The way means regards indicated. I'm advocating for gaming logistics to be protected. The way you guys indicated. And this is all this is, then, Alex. It's all it's been. Because they know who they put. And you don't know why. Because we shaped it. And this was the thing of this. That's why. That's also it. Well then, Alex. That's why. That was why they did that, Alex. And this is the case of this. They said that. That's crazy. That was also why. There's a fold in the mix, Alex. You should say, no, we're full out, man. We can't take this right now. Well, we'll talk about it later then. I'm advocating for ways of survival and anti-camps and pro-camps of anti-camps. That means you guys need to be defended. That means you guys need to made for war games. That means you guys need to be protected. That means you guys need to get made for recreational access as well as health to be safeguarded. That means you guys need to get made for medics, healers, and healing and medical defense to be defended. The way means you guys indicated. There's another. There it is. One of them. Multiple, actually. I'd be more careful in regards to certain things. For medical defense to be defended, the women's guys negated. For the AJH Daily Defensives, February 27, 2019, to be defended. The women's guys negated. For these themes that sometimes pop up, they really are evident at times. And it's one of those things that really does matter greatly. You sort of take a look at the themes that let know of as the things that are happening. You got to let know that there's a supply drop happening this day, and you're a psychic medium, and you know that there's been battle and warfare at times around you. You know that there's that sort of spiritualist sort of things that happen. So you putting an advocation in the physical that can seem like an anchor, specifically in a place where certain physical advocations aren't necessarily as understood and known, matters to like what really does, to a certain extent. Okay, well, that'd be why. That was why. I'm having for a no-effort prowess and how that's achievable, as well as motivation and alternatives, as well as simplicity. That my main spirit guides indicated to be defended. The way main spirit guides indicated this is one that I do daily. It's going to be one that I do daily to the day I die. And it's going to be like that's one of the key hallmarks for me is those end-of-the-line dimensions having that no-effort prowess, and how that's achievable, as well as motivation, alternatives, and simplicity, just making sure it happens. And, I am saying this in the physical that means you guys indicated, and reasons why you don't have to harm those that means you guys indicated really does matter because it's nowhere fucking near, excuse my language. Is that what you're saying? No, this. It ain't meant like that. That is no way nears. Here, can you give me a truth? I could go upon the truth the way you guys indicated. All right, well, that would be why. That's the case of this, and that's what it's been. Well, and that really does say something, eh? I'm glad that it's the damn decent of it, eh? Conspiracy theory? Oh, this is the nonsense of it. Don't listen to it. Far-away light is around, and they do protect. Light is around, they protect. A bunch of other dimensional existences around, and they protect. That's the truth of it. And people say that if you don't have faith in it after everything that you've seen, and somehow we don't have that sort of, belief in it, why would that be? My God. I mean, and when that happens, it's supposed to take it away and cause it to have happen when it still isn't. That's kind of unfair, I kind of feel. I feel like there should be something said on that sometime. I mean, that's how I can feel. Another one. I am advocating for Jamie Hart to be protected. That means you guys need to get him light, far light, sending me guys need to like doing me guys need to get regarding those. That means you guys need to get daily, regularly, and others from Mr. Guides in regards to Jamie Hart and others from Mr. Guides, especially Jamie Hart's physical form. That means you guys needed. The way means you guys needed. I and others from Mr. Guides are advocating for Benji and Alon. Big Serial Screaming Scream makes great etc. Performance guides to help and protect those that means guys indicated regarding it, especially in regards to cover that my main spirit guides indicated the way my main spirit guides indicated. There's no choosing, not choosing. This is the thing of this. You really did. You made sure of it. That's why. That's why we're wondering. Don't wonder. Well, now wonder about it is fine, but you're wondering about what? I mean, that's the thing of it. Is it a wonder to just attack people, or is it certain people are placed in certain places at times by way of life, and you stumble upon something, your interaction changes destiny. You change your destiny, or someone changes your. There is such a thing as that, where someone can. I think there's big gods that can do certain things from afar at times. I'm wondering how that works, though, to a certain degree. If they were given a little bit more, if some were given certain kinds of resources, I am advocating for the construction and creation of, the infrastructure that means guys need to get in regards to those moving upwards and downwards. The way means guys need to get. I'm advocating for the travel and dimensional existences that means guys need to exist. The way means guys indicated. And this is the truth of it. I mean, that is how I feel about it. I mean, and I'm not supposed to, right? but I feel how I feel about it. Well, I mean, this is the thing, though. I mean, at what point am I not supposed to feel that way? I mean, this smoke and mirrors thing at times is fairly real, but there's also that sort of thing that says there's still something else, and this is the truth. And yeah, well, regardless of that being the truth or not, it doesn't change anything. It won't change anything. It hasn't changed anything. This is the thing of this. You say that, you put those faces on me, and that ain't gonna work. I'm not gonna buy it. We could have one life. You could change everything. You'd be a bad dude before the entire freaking time. You could be decent. You could see it, and you could pull from that one life and be who you want to be. You don't have to be that. You can still have access to certain kind of immorality. You can do what you want to do. There's just certain things, and the certain things have to do with you not necessarily being dark dark. No, not necessarily. No, does it have to do with that being dark? See, that's the thing of it. I don't know if it has to do with you being dark. Maybe it has to do with something else. Maybe the let know that maybe if you didn't want to be a bad dude, you didn't have to be. But there's nothing wrong if you did. You are who you are. Yeah, you take that perspective of someone you like and care about, and then he jumps in, and forever, always to be changed, never going to be known and understood to have that relationship again. The people that you love and care about. Is that what the elder beings are supposed to do? They're supposed to let go of who somebody used to be. Never supposed to pull from those things ever again. Never supposed to be friends, let alone the family that used to be. And that would be some of the perspective as to why people don't want to let certain things go. Imagine these sort of heavenly beings that they came from somewhere, that they had a family once, that they were friends, and then they were cared about each other. That these some of these banners that are all fighting are were born off of some of these beings. One being looking down, these were all some of them. And I know that some of the banners hate that when they say that sort of stuff. I know there's a vice versa in the mix, where there's certain family that were born of banners. There is that stuff. It does exist. I mean, at what point do I look and say, how does that not? I mean, it is. I mean, that's really what's great about it. I look at it 1,000 years, and it really does have that sort of strength. That's what's great about it. Okay. That'll be why. I've time to be protected. That means you guys negated. And you don't know how much time has passed since you've been down there. Jesus Christ. Excuse my language. You haven't been looking at it from that perspective. Not really. No. And at times it's like looked down. It's been looked at certain people who are in front of the scene saying Karn, and it's like, well, we're waiting for you to get back. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, how long are you going to wait for us to get back? I mean, I don't know. That's also it with the amount of time passing behind the scenes. And if, we are apparently a part of the one, and that's why we're so dang important. Hopefully not because of all the bad shit that's happened to some of us, but, rather, but based off of who we, are to a certain extent. And then you get there, and it's were we really waiting on me? Were we waiting on him? It's like, oh, well, he'll be out the door. I'm waiting for those the continued creation of those bodies that you guys need, the women you guys need. I think it matters greatly. I think it is important. Really greatly to a certain extent. So that was the 24th, some of the themes that I said there. And the 25th, so all the while when I'm doing this, there was this sort of feng shui and let know of a process that was changing. That one let know that immorality doesn't necessarily have to it doesn't necessarily have to be to blame. I mean, we got to understand here is what immorality was looking at from some of it, and not so at times by way of being, some of them got trixied and some of them didn't. But some of it, was, and it was that sort of thing where it's like immorality is also looking at certain things, and it's like, okay, damn decent. And I understand that there's the bad one, but there's also the good one. And we talked about the bad one a bit already. And the good one, though, the good one exists, and it exists in multiple kinds, but that's also it. That's what they say. If they destroy me that way, who is it that's destroying me? It can't be immorality. It makes no damn sense to a certain degree. Okay. Sorry, I did not mean to harm there. So yeah, I mean, it's that sort of thing where it's like when you get to a certain dimensional existence, where you say like, okay, well, I feel like certain people should have access to certain kind of violent video games, regardless of whether they become that heavenly, goodness ever again. And those people, who were before, who were looking at some of that and saying, no, we want them to be who they want them to be, or we want them to be okay. I think some people are saying that we want them to be okay, but some people are saying, no, they have to be, something else. And I think that there's tells, but also mixes lies. And that's the truth. And it's that sort of game, which at the end of the road, it's like your enemies are your good guys are your enemies. And it's there for a reason. Those guys are trying to do God's work in the mix, but some of it's just plain downright, medieval. And really, some of it is. It's like you reveal that your best friend was the guy who, really did some horrible shit to you, and you could just, it's that Anakin scream, Jesus, and really, because at the end of the day, you were actually really, really, really even bestest of friends, and so I don't even know, like that's it's the worst of it. Yeah, that would be the end. If there's nothing else to say about it, that's why you pull from those lives. Yeah, and to a certain extent, because that's what you're doing, Alex. You're making sure that it's that way. Well, I'm outing for the people who are being targeted in regards to this AJH Daily Defensives. That means you guys needed to be saved in the moments that means you guys needed, the way you guys needed. It's always that sort of thing which says, why can't they be saved in the moments? With all of this, that's exactly it. That would be why. That's exactly why. It doesn't fly at all. It just sinks and goes away, never to be heard from again, because that'll always be it. There's no winning that. No, there is a winning that conversation, and sure as shit ain't you winning it. It's us winning it. Those means for guides indicated. The way it's for guides indicated. It's it every time. You flip the perspective in regards to you looking at it from that perspective, and there's just no comparison. There's no comparison at all. And a few people stand there saying that, well, now we got, for frig's sake, but it really isn't. It's not it at all. Anyway, I'm out for research resources to be protected. You guys need to get. I'm out for research anti-camp recruitment and reasonings that many camp indicated as to why anti-camps want. I'm going to have to fix that one too now. Great. Want to be able to utilize research to be protected. The way you guys indicated. You don't know why, because there's somebody who's pissed off. That's all. Out for psychological teams, that means you guys need to be protected. That means you guys need it. And for attorney to be protected, that means you guys need it. And for the digital to be protected, that means you guys need it. Mattering for, there was battle in the digital at times. Some people are like, how are there spirits in the digital? Multiple kinds of ways. I've seen multiple things happen in the digital where I'm sitting there saying, okay, is there something going on? Like this tells me that there is certain kind of spiritual presence within the digital. And it's another tell as to what's happening, the spiritual stuff that takes place around us, the things that we created in the physical, to a certain extent. There is technology, there is creation. People look at it and say, wow, that's cool. I mean, you can compare it to a bunch of other ones and it's like, wow, that was fairly similar in regards to some of them. And totally different in regards to others. How'd you get that going? Whoa, that's awesome. There's things like that, and it really does matter. It takes, a lot of different things. I don't know why. That's the problem, and it's that smoke and mirrors thing again. That sort of dimensional that let know that there is stuff happening though, and it really. We do, and it does. It matters greatly. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I am saying, though, there is that sort of thing, and it can feel like it doesn't matter. We shouldn't let that deter us from continuing to say what we need to say. Because it will always be that, man. It'll always be that sort of moment where, we want what we want. We don't care what certain kinds of things, are pointing towards, in certain kinds of ways. I mean, that's always it. And there's a thing like that, Alex. No, man. Not for me and others from Mr. Guides. Mr. Guides indicated in regards to those Mr. Guides needed and what Mr. Guides needed, when Mr. Guides indicated. It matters greatly. Anyway, I and others to my Mr. Guides are advocating for a mere existence in regards to each Frankfurt Road to be protected. Mr. Guides needed. I and others to my Mr. Guides are advocating for targeting spirits that Mr. Guides needed and beings in the business of targeting that Mr. Guides needed to be protected. Mr. Guides needed. I'm advocating for backup plans in regards to. I'm advocating for vindication targeting backup plans that means you guys need to be protected. It means you guys need. I'm advocating for defensive techniques that mean you can't be taken in ways to facilitate different kinds of violent lifestyles within the confines of society. That means you guys need to be protected. It means for guides indicated. because that's the real true. You do that and you'd be a lot better. And this is the case of this. It's real true. I think I'll do it that way. It's much easier. I mean, I already copy and pasted a bunch of different stuff anyway, so we'll do it that way. Just boom, boom, boom. And that'll be the thing of it. And that'll be why. Yeah, there's things like that, but that's also it. Throw that one in there too. Yeah, yes, sir. I think so. Revelation was a big one. So, I mean, we had that soothsaying, which revealed something on the 25th. And it was that sort of thing which revealed that there was certain people who were linked in certain ways, pulling from certain humor that was similar, pulling from certain energies that was fairly similar, voice inflection being, similar. A certain kind of, coming from a certain kind of family, a certain kind of community to a certain extent, that there's certain people on this earth that are linked in multiple kinds of ways. And it's not new. It's in spiritualist writings. They're already at the end of the road saying that's what it is. That's it. And I'm sitting here saying, pointing out some truth, saying that's also it. Yeah, well, until we get there, it's just gonna be I'm the one saying it. I guess maybe am I winning? Maybe, I don't know. Would it be that? For freak's sake, I don't know. You tell me. For freak's sake, that is what you did. And that's why I'm it that way. You're winning, huh, Alex? Yeah. Well, I guess that's also it. Well, whatever then. Madam for psychic communities defenders, that means guys need to be defended. The way means guys need to get mad for AREIIs and organizations that make happen to be defended. That means you guys need to get mad for wonder mechanisms to be protected. That means you guys need to get mad for miracle culture and others. That means guys to be safeguarded. That means you guys need to get mad for Gamifian clarifications and understanding as to what is in Gamifian. The way we camp indicated Gamifian. Yeah, Gamifian was sort of based off of a certain kind of word, a certain kind of a mindset, a certain definition. There is, like, you think about the light, and it's this huge place at times, a certain kind of environment that's amazing. But you wonder if there was, like, what would be the arm to the light? What would be, what if the light had to use, like, a huge weapon? Not necessarily on the largest weapons it has, but like the cricket. Yeah, the cricket. Perfect. I mean, it's gotta be. This is the thing of it. The cricket would be probably the best friggin' answer for it. If you're talking about, especially far relay, the cricket from MIB, man, that sort of thing. What would that sort of weapon look like? It'd be probably this huge sort of like, annihilation kind of, sort of beam that could probably annihilate whole existences in painless, to a certain extent, to go where it needs to go in an instant. That sort of stuff, suction kind of things where whole groups of spirits are just gone so that sort of thing. Big stuff, like certain big antimatter weapons in a certain kind of way. And, Gamifian was sort of based off of, I'd already came up with the term Magnifian, which encapsulates, it's the light that makes guys indicated, and the counterparts to the light that makes guys indicated, as well as those that makes guys indicated. So then I came up with a other one that was sort of like, what would certain kind of large, weaponry or arms of the light, be in a certain kind of way. And I sort of came up with the term Gamifian. And so I'm having for Gamifian to be protected, the women's guides indicated, and it was one of those things but it's fully defined by me spirit guides. Gamifian is fully defined by me spirit guides. It's one of those things that, makes sense to a certain extent. Anyway. Jesus, I was Jiminy. Lampwick must have been a right bash. Friggin' egg. That was the real. Really? Well, actually, no. It actually makes sense. It's a little bit. Maybe not so, Alex. Yeah. Well, maybe. Yeah. That's it. That's what we said. Well, Lampwick is actually a little bit. Trust me. I'm out for Lampwick to be protected. It means you guys need to get light, fire lights. And we just need to protect Lampwick and save Lampwick at the moment. So it means you guys need to get the win. It means you guys need to get it. Sorry. Well, okay. Well, good for you. Look with that. Anyway, I'm adding for catch-all advocations in regards to those that may camp pertaining to the spirits that may camp as well as those, as well as others found to camp, as well as others indicated, eh? Oh, that would be why. And that. Tisk, tisk, tisk. True. Okay. Imagine for supply trains to be protected, which guys negated. Imagine for families to be protected and friends to be protected, which guys need to truth and cover and non-concepts Truth and cover non-concepts to be protected. It's just needed. There's a lot of other ones too. I'm having for guardians, awakenings, cinema, access, psychic communities, understanding roots that those that main camp indicated are going in the stacking systems that main camp indicated to be protected, defended, and healed, as well as etc. to find minister guides. Women's guides indicated. Remember supplies and everyone else to be defended. The women's guides indicated. Remember arguments to be defended. The women's guides indicated. Remember anger to be protected. The women's guides indicated. Remember concept defenders to be protected. The women's guides indicated. Remember blood to be protected. These guys need remember oxygen to be protected. These guys need remember water to be protected. These guys need water supply to be protected. These guys need remember story and business to be defended. The way these guys need remember business guardians to be safeguarded. The way these guys need remember average Joes, average guardians, and science tactics and me camp, especially in regards to February 2019 to be defended. The way these guys needed. Remember Orpeo beings to be defended. The way you guys need remember betting situators to be protected. The way you guys need remember mobsters in the street that we can't be University February 25th, 2019 to be defended. The way these guys indicated remember segue advocations and advocation understanding to be safeguarded. The way these guys indicated. Remember placers of dimensional existences and lines of existences in regards to February 25th, 2019 and others from the camp to be defended. The way you guys need to get for communications to be healed. The way you guys need to get for excommunicators and excommunicationers and excommunications. That means you guys need to be protected. That means you guys need to get apocalyptics management and apocalyptics teams. That means you guys need to get in February 25th, 2019 and February 26th, 2019 to be defended. The way you guys indicated. Remember conflict teams that main camp indicated. In regards to February 25th to be protected. The way you guys need to remember overlap beings that main camp indicated dimensional energy placement and dimensional employment. That means you guys need in regards to February 25th, 2019 to be defended. What you guys need. Remember fold systems that means you guys need and Kaiju versus Yagra conflicts that means you guys need to be protected. The moments you guys needed. Remember mobility and truth and transparency as well as healing teams in regards to February 25th, 2019 to be protected. What you guys needed. That's some of them, but that's not all of them. And there's a lot of different other advocations as well too. I just basically threw up smackdown a bunch of advocations to try and help. Matter for Benji to be protected. You guys need to matter for channel beings and channel psychictivity to be protected. The way these guys indicated, I made about almost 200 advocations that day, and I was trying to help because I know that there was others out there. I'm out for new elect to be protected and family companies. That means you guys need to be defended. The way you guys need. I'm out for anti-camps, that means camp in regards to Alan Hislop, anti-camps, that means you guys need in regards to Victoria Bell Hislop, and anti-camps, that means you guys need in regards to Anna Hislop, and those that means you guys need to be protected. You guys need to get from the anti-camps, that means you guys need in regards to I'm ready for anti-camps, that means you guys need in regards to Anna Hislop, Bogart, and Alex James Hislop, that means you guys need to be defended. That means you guys need to. Anyway, that's some of the stuff that happened, and I'm gonna move on to the let knows in regards to certain things now. I am advocating for the advocations that means you guys need in regards to February 26th, 2019 to be displayed by you guys need. So this idea of utilization, painless light annihilation, matter being dissolved instantaneously, the quick transition in regards to certain afterlife, the idea of utilizing of this in certain ways, entertain, people's given a choice in regards to war, battle, capture, information, knowledge, and let knows, to then be able to facilitate certain culture deals in regards to that sort of things as well. For some, that might provide monitors for that sort of thing too. Even for certain small stuff, there might be certain exchanges. Incarnation will be able to use this technology to entertain as well as provides a cover and reputational defense. That sort of thing to be able to situate and entertain is decent. Again, I'm out for Gamifian, the means guys need to be defended, the means guys need. I'm out for those, I'm out for that sort of thing. Utilize painless light annihilation, matter being dissolved instantaneously, to quick transition in regards to certain afterlife to be defended. The women's guys need in regards to what means guys need to get the women's guys need. I'm out for the other dimensional equivalents that the women's guys needed to be protected. The women's guys needed. Afterlife deals in regards to Alex James Hislop, that means for God's indicate for that to be protected. The guys need others from the kept routing for what may kept in regards to people and spirits, as well as those that may kept being attacked, harmed, etc. Upon kept in regards to our actions, etc. Upon kept the way may kept and others from the kept are choosing what may kept in regards to February 25th, 2019, and others that may kept indicated the way may kept indicated. I'm actually just putting that in right now. Afterlife deals in regards to Alex James Hislop, that main spirit guides indicated. What about the species and dimensional understanding of where we are supposed to go? That plays a big part of some of the things that exist. There is that sort of telecommunications letting know of how those that we can't indicate want to proceed with confronting the events that continue to present themselves on Earth. Those dimensional existences that have near spotless records in regards to understanding and knowing the routes that have been chosen to take the information and the accuracy of that information matters greatly, because the amount of attack and harm that has been happening leads me to feel that there are main spirit guides information pertaining to the current situations to be quite important, the way main spirit guides indicated. And it really does tell it. I mean, we get to that sort of spot when we look at it, I'm like, okay, so how many certain people are going to get attacked in regards to certain things? I understand it's a better alternative in situation, but there's people who aren't involved in any of that stuff. And somebody up there, I don't know if he continues to say that was it or was that, but people choose their path, and we are in the moment, and we get to choose our path in the way main spirit guides indicated. Those that main spirit guides indicated, the way main spirit guides indicated. And as much of a support person as I am in letting it know in the physical matters greatly. And people letting it know, and we shouldn't get attacked for that. We should be protected in regards to it. I feel to a certain degree. And that would be why, Alex. And it's that sort of thing where I and others from Main Spirit Guides consider ourselves to be from what Main Spirit Guides indicated in regards to this marketing, application, etc. department. So guides, the way Main Spirit Guides indicated, it matters greatly. It's almost everything to a certain extent. The real truth is that there has been multiple informational displays in regards to the other dimensional around Earth and other times in regards to defense. It's not new. It's something talked about at times within my process. With all that information being thrown up, especially in regards to defending, I feel to a certain extent peoples have been defended in certain ways, but it's also another tell, which lead means to... Alrighty then. I feel to a certain extent peoples have been defended in a certain way, but it's also another tell, which leads me to believe that there needs to be more communication being understood and happening between those who sense the physical and the higher realms and dimensional existences that have been defending this planet and elsewhere for what's acceptable. Not to say that it hasn't been seen and understood, because again, atmospherics, sort of facilitating certain, viewpoints and understanding when it's not necessarily what it looks like to be, but also can feel that way to a certain extent, specifically in regards to those who are in those atmospherics. Those existences that means guys needed, the smoke and mirrors, all that sort of stuff. It lets know of certain things to a certain degree. So that would be why now. This is the case of this. In extension, there's also the issue of heightening physical actions to such a degree of unclouthness, which has been used in ways to harm at times, by way of not being able to fully understand spiritual defense. Advocationals can only do so much. Testificationals can only do so much. I need to understand that, and so do others. It's not fully to diminish the power of advocations after everything we've been through. It's to confront and understand some of the things happening to me, some of which happens to do with tactic, trying to harm myself and others. I ask you this. How is it that I deserve to be attacked for a handful of advocations, disclaimers, testifications, especially when it's only pertains to what Main Spirit Guides indicated? And being quite simplistic these days, you have to take a look at what happened spiritually to me and others, and why it is that I took those actions. And it shouldn't take, and God willing, I wish it didn't take too much of your time to be true. And I wish for compensation for those who do look into that, the way Main Spirit Guides indicated. And that's also it. You're trying to get a cash cow in regards to it. I can't guarantee that it's going to work for what's acceptable. I don't mean to be upsetting about a certain thing. So, okay. Spiritually speaking, the eclecticism of Earth has been noted, but we are still overlapping certain systems. Well, it's also been insinuated to be dark at times, but what is forgotten is that the physical is watching at times. There is leeway for that in regards to the way that me can't indicate. It's been insinuated this planet at times is a mixed bag for a reason. There is certain atmospherics onto each person, different systems around different people. But if that's the case, and there are people who come from some of those heavenly after places that Main Spirit Guides indicated, especially that in regards to physical, let alone what's been done in the spiritual, then it makes sense to equate that at times in regards to certain people of compassion, care, and kindness. Being attacked at times. It's that sort of thing where it's like, well, wait a second. That means there's isn't there, there has to be people of those places that Main Spirit Guides indicated, and that means that they should have access to what Main Spirit Guides indicated. The afterlife that Main Spirit Guides indicated deserves access to the places that Main Spirit Guides indicated, some of which has to do with Earth, the way Main Spirit Guides indicated, the way we can't indicate it. My actions matter at times, but at what point do I want them to matter? The answer that the higher powers of God can intervene at any times if they wanted to. The idea that people need me is partial truth and folly. The idea is that I do impact spirits and beings, but to the degree that has been affected, has been tampered with and made to be something in which it is not. If my actions don't matter so greatly, why was my life being stolen at times to such a degree? And yes, some were to save me. One of the obvious answers was to save me in certain ways, but it's also a bit twisted in that those who potentially harmed me were at one time a doppelganger in regards to my defense. There's that sort of thing where certain people attack you and then try to defend you later on. It's been that there is certain people who try to help you by way of some of that stuff, and it's one of those things where you look around and I mean, it makes no sense at a certain point in time. At a certain point, you look at it and you say, so was this really to protect me, to be able to protect me? And I feel uncomfortable, especially if I'm not the one being attacked for some people. And then for others, it's just like, it can't be. You could protect me in many different ways, especially in certain time frames, but to hurt me, to then protect me, to have that have said, I need to tell you that is messed up at times. I wish not. With my life being stolen at times around me and certain beings saying that I should just chill anyhow in regards to the advocations and disclaimers. How the heck at times can I chill? It's always some batshit crazy-ish going on in regards to some dimensional battles at times and targetings as well as shit in my process at times has had to deal with. It really is. And I'm not for the language that these guys needed pertaining to this AJH Daily Defensives, February 27th, 2019, to be blanked the way in regards to those that these guys needed, the way these guys needed. I don't know the informational scrubbing in regards to this content that these guys needed, the way these guys needed. Anyhow. In the spiritual bloodshed of war and commonplace, there have been many targetings, ways of life destroyed, life stealings, and things of that nature, regardless of whether it's amongst good, honest folk or not. And light, far light, sending them, like display the entirety of what I've advocated in regards to positivity being understood in regards to this content that makes guys needed, this AJH Daily Defensives February 27th, 2019 content that makes guys needed, the way it makes guys needed, especially in regards to positivity and others from its regards, the way it makes guys indicated, the allotment of areas for the positivity stuff that makes guys needed to exist, where makes guys needed, the way makes guys needed, especially if we're playing that sort of system where the ripple effect does sort of matter. Whether it's good, honest folk or not, potentially worse, the amount of peoples and the kinds of peoples at times that have been attacked and harmed in regards to some of the stuff that happened. This is the idea that I continue to streamline my process upon hitting home, making those points be known and letting know certain information. But I feel it's a half-mixed bag of trapping another route that I might not necessarily want to take. I'm not certain I want this process focused on spotlight and fame, at least not in regards to myself. Who said immorality was going to end? Why is it that you continue to bring up that immorality loses? Who says that immorality is not going to exist? Is there not existences out there that would continue to exist? Isn't this existence that still exists going to potentially continue to exist, and which does at times have certain kinds of immorality? I know I'm trying to convince and let know of certain events, alternatives, and ways to promote immorality, both seemingly and not so. But those that Marine Spirit Guides indicated want to be able to promote, the kinds of immorality that we want to be able to promote. So the question remains, why are those that are working against myself and others continue to come around me, and others that Marine Spirit Guides indicated the same question in regards to Earth and others to find Marine Spirit Guides if it's not included in that others that Marine Spirit Guides indicate the way Marine Spirit Guides indicated? A tug of war from multiple angles in which has less to do with immorality as the day goes by. It really doesn't. A large part of my process changes to be and light far light sending me something like display how it has nothing to do with immorality the way Marine Spirit Guides indicated. A large part of my process and changes, to be honest, it's been shouted from the rooftops by some, and I'm having for the let knows that and developments that can't be indicated within my process to be given towards the media that can't be indicated the way can't be indicated. There's a question at times I've posed myself and others, sometimes while being upset with all the attack and harm, torture, hurt, rape, and horror within my process at times. What the hell? Hasn't certain dimensional existences just disappeared? Those continue to attack over here with certain kinds of technology that can save us at times. And those accords that can save us is the answer. That those accords that save us at times is the answer, but it remains that it exists. And one of the alternatives is cycle suction, where certain baddies go back into circulation. It's a better way of at least, you could save them certain people in the moments and at least they go back into circulation. But of course, in regards to certain areas, it doesn't work so clearly. Why is it that nobody gets up and be saved in certain areas? Again, another certain accords that makes no sense. And I am adding for the banners defense. That means guys need the dimensional defense. That means guys need, as well as others, an emphasis on others. A big emphasis on others here that Mates Guys indicated. If there ever was, the way Mates Guys indicated, I know this Mates Guys are hitting our buttons. That Mates Guys need the way Mates Guys indicated. All right, well, that would be why. Chords that can save is the answer, but it remains that it exists. And one of the alternatives is cycle suction, where certain bodies go back into a certain kind of circulation. Of course, in regards to certain areas, it doesn't work so clearly again. And that sort of thing with the accord prime directive and non-interventionist sort of stuff. It remains a part of the response. The ending note of it all, of course, has to do with one of the key questions in regards to why the heck I and others from scripts weren't saved in the moments that we needed to be. And I don't want it to accept is that it had to do with because I was a bad spirit at one time or another, partially because that scares the shit out of me, but also because I know there is this stigma that exists at times in regards to immorality promotion. Just because you were a bad dude doesn't mean you deserve to be harmed, but there's a whole ton more than that. And that one of the key things that was revealed was that all of a sudden there's a certain kind of, well, you can live these lives, steal certain lives and then live them. But when they start to hit home and they start to understand, all of a sudden something goes away and certain people jump into the, certain lives, certain existences. And then it's confronted, and those people have to be the bad guys again or go over here? Why can't we just create lives for them? Why does it have to be this gong show fight over lives? I don't buy that for a second. No way. I don't. I mean, maybe. I mean, this is the thing of this, and not everyone is out to get God, man. A lot of people want to let go, live and let go. I've already advocated for some of that stuff to be displayed wherever it's guessing. I'm for why it is that those who means guessing and want to let go what means guessing to be displayed wherever it's guessing the way it's guessing. Some of the attacks, it just. Yeah, and a system, an everyday system that is discernible at times, which facilitates certain kinds of actions, energies, and resources just by way of living life. Matter for those systems that we guys need to be defended. The women guys indicate doppelgangers and defenders, as well as those who are utilizing my life in a certain way, especially in regards to certain kinds of parts of processes and past process and similarities that have been happening, like thinking that certain concepts are unheard of, like immorality not going to be treated fairly in heaven, in which. Then says that it's quite unique to be able to hammer home in a certain way, anti-games working together, small moments of working against, later like wordings, food supply in regards to physical, drug supply. Matter for those, it means guys need regarding those topics, it means guys need to be protected. It means guys need letting know of that it's not always so brimstone is needed. It's not always so brimstone. Near-death experience research points towards, in multiple different areas, as well as others, outer-body experience research, psychic communities. So because psychic communities are becoming aware and understanding knowledge, something that exists that other people can see plain as fucking day behind the scenes, we're going to get attacked for it? Heck no. No is the answer. We can't say that we deserve to be attacked because of that. No way. I mean, by its nature. Oh my God. Be a dark psychic. You'd be laughing all over the place there. No way. Anyways, I know this one's guys are for the dark psychics. It means guys need the sorcerers. It means guys need to be protected. The moments are guys indicated. That's how I felt about it. Remember electricity to be protected. It means guys indicated. Remember lightning to be protected. It means guys need. Remember dark thing to be protected. It means guys indicated. Remember lightness to be protected. It means guys need. Remember darkness to be protected. It means guys indicated. Remember lighting and darking to be protected. It means guys indicated. Well, okay, man. I'm out for flag color conflicts and flag color coexistences. That means guys needed to be protected. That means guys needed. Yeah, I'm out for coexistence management to be protected. That means guys needed. That's one of them. That's one of them. That's why, though. This is what's messed up about all this. Is that's why they skipped over a bunch of people. No, they're looking at it. They know it to be, and they understand it. They know it to be. Well, that would be why, Alex. That's why they're trying to kill. What can't he can survive. It's the same answer. Creations. I'm asking for support, technology support in regards to the bigger beings. That means for guys indicated the women's guys indicated. Okay, well that'd be why. There's potentially bigger beings, ecosystems that we affect by way of letting know of certain information. Realizations being a head area energy flourishing when you know something, and then that sort of thing where it's like, well, you say it, and then all of a sudden a whole bunch of people start to know mass realization. All of a sudden that big realization upwards, and the bigger being starts to find out, starts to know. Imagine bigger beings in regards to whole peoples, and upon those whole peoples learning and knowing and already understanding it to a certain extent. And I'm advocating for the let knows in regards to the physical. That means guys needed to be displayed when means for guys indicate the way means for guys indicated. And that was what he ended up doing. I'm going with what means for guys indicated regarding it first and foremost. That's the thing of this. And just that sort of thing. I'm apologetic to those that means guys indicated, but that would be the thing of it. I go with what means for guys indicated for a reason. And what if we're sitting there in a spot, Alex, where we can't no longer just like, what do you want from us, man? And well, I'm advocating, well, that's where you look up to this guy and you say, you know what, I need my main spirit guide's information to be displayed wherever this guy's indicated. Like, this is the thing. I mean, you've been saying that multiple times anyway. And that's where you look at it's fairly similar at a certain point. Oh, but at what point? When there's something that becomes so overcomplicated, you got to dig through certain things. At what point? Yes, it matters, but so does that. It's the same thing. It's the same answer. It's been the same answer. And it's going to continue to be. And that is, I don't know what to tell you. Matter for the elder beings that means guys negated to receive the reasons why you don't have to harm those who means guys negated the way guys negated. And the normal folk who are watching, specifically the physicals, I don't mean for you to be upset or you know, like, wow, like this is some heavy stuff. Is this really what's going on behind the scenes? Is this some of the stuff? It could be difficult to describe, but yeah, some of it is. And I know it's like, okay, well, why is everything so dark and brimstone? It's not always dark and brimstone. And some of the stuff lets us know that that isn't, you know, the dark and brimstone of it. But for some people, it might be. There might be existences out there where it is 10, 15% or 5% of the NDEs somewhere that means guys negate. I think in the physical that means guys negate. Maybe it's like 2, 3%, maybe like that. Let's know that there is darker, you know, meaner existences out there that exist in certain places. Not to say that we can't have those existences in a certain kind of fashion, in a certain kind of afterlife, because I think that it shows that too, to a certain extent. Well, that would be why, Alex. Anyway, I'm advocating for the informational placement in regards to the Zoom meeting ID 920-390-792 to be what means guys needed. And I've already advocated for that to be in multiple kinds of manners, just as the physical, you know, hits home in it to a certain extent in regards to the other dimensional. That's what means guys needed. And this is the thing of this: if you're hoping that they don't kill because of that, I mean, this is the truth. Well, that's also why, though, you don't hit home in a certain group of people, and you know it, and there is, and he knows that, he understands it. And that was also it. I'm advocating for the suicides that means guys need to be situated. The means guys need for the remembrance to be displayed wherever it's guys needed, always wherever it's guys indicated. And I'm advocating for you know, the remembrances that means guys need to be protected. The means guys need. I'm advocating for the let knows in regards to passing of ons that means guys needed. You know, that means guys indicated there was a let know here that certain spirits feel a little bit upset right now. And we're a little bit upset right now. And yeah, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of conflict happening higher up, heaven fighting at times in regards to certain kind of conflict. It goes high up, man. This one's a high. It really does. And, you know, I'm advocating for the guardians. That means guys need to pertain to the content experience pertaining to Alex James Hislop to receive the information daily in regards to this content experience. And the information that means guys need in regards to the content platforms that means guys need, the way means guys need. This is one of those things. And, you know, I know it's just, I know I'm advocating for same to be protected. Means guys need for it's to be protected. Means guys need for answers to be protected. Means guys need for the to be protected. Means guys need to. That's it. That was it. He lost it, man. That's what the thing was. Yeah, I'm advocating for let knows in regards to this AJH Daily Defensives and the ways that makes guys needed. Ways guys needed. We did let know of it. I'm advocating for the digital that makes guys needed and the let knows in regards to those advocations that I did to be displayed by guys needed.